The Hopi prophecy is based on an oral record that spans thousands of years. It speaks of cyclical cataclysms and says that one is coming in our near future, and that it will be the transition between the end of the fourth world and the beginning of the fifth. Several ancient texts have documented cyclical cataclysms. The Bible begins with the replenishing of the earth, which many biblical scholars interpret as a restoration after a previous destruction, and it ends with destruction. During the 16th century, Nostradamus wrote of the earth trembling so violently that great structures would be destroyed. Edgar Cayce, America's sleeping prophet, documented over 14,000 psychic readings that have been stunningly accurate. He had visions that simultaneous eruptions of Mount Pelée in Martinique and Mount Etna in Sicily would occur approximately 90 days before the West Coast is flooded. Gordon Michael Scallion was an electronics consultant with no background in mysticism when, in 1979, he suddenly lost his voice and began experiencing visions of future Earth changes. He published maps that show America's coastlines underwater, the country cut in half from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico, and Denver, Colorado as a future seaport. After years working as an electrical engineer for the U.S. aerospace industry, Aaron Abramson began focusing on psychic research. He predicted dramatic Earth changes and created a future map of the United States that showed the same coastal inundation. The alleged classified map of the U.S. Navy, which has been circulating for decades, shows U.S. coastal inundation patterns nearly identical to these visionary maps. Stan Deyo received a congressional appointment to the U.S. Air Force Academy at Colorado Springs. His advanced propulsion research took him to Australia in 1971 to work under the direction of America's Dr. Edward Teller and the Soviet Union's Dr. Andrei Sakharov. Stan Deyo had above top-secret security clearance and predicted that sunspot activity, tectonic upheaval, and volcanic activity would result in coastal inundation of the United States. One specific element of Deyo's predictions, a mega tsunami triggered by volcanic collapse in the Canary Islands, has been independently modeled and published by geologists at University College London. Deyo has spent years consulting with Hopi elders and found their prophecy to be consistent with his scientific research and developed maps that reflect what we have already discussed. FEMA's National Flood Insurance Program maps show the same results. All these maps show Denver, Colorado, which sits 5,280 feet above sea level and hundreds of miles from the nearest ocean coastline, among the most secure and stable positions in the continental United States. Perhaps this explains the mysteries of the Denver International Airport. At 35,000 acres, DIA's footprint is twice as large as the next largest U.S. airport. It was built 30 kilometers farther from the city than the airport it replaced and has fewer runways. DIA was $2 billion over budget. There are as many as 6 underground levels below the ground floor, and possibly more that are not publicly known. Construction workers handling different sections of the project reported complex underground tunnels and buried buildings. Construction companies were changed repeatedly throughout the build, and teams were fired once they completed their section, ensuring that no single group had a complete picture of the overall blueprint. The murals by Leo Tanguma, who confirmed he was given guidelines for the imagery, show a sequence of events: environmental destruction, burning cities, children dead and dying, and a new unified world emerging. The Masonic capstone reads, New World Airport Commission, an organization with no verifiable ongoing existence and no public record outside this stone and the airport's opening ceremonies. Perhaps it is merely coincidence, but an expected cataclysmic event like this would explain every bizarre action of the U.S. government for the past decade. Greg Reese reporting.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Diamond Report Live. This is your host, Doug Diamond, and we are back yet again It is 9:06 p.m. on May 24th, 2026. And I hope you guys have had a good week. My week this week's been pretty good as well. Hopefully yours was. And if not, then I'm sorry. And maybe ask someone to say a prayer for you if you had a bad week. But overall, I think things seem like they were pretty well back to normal around here. Last week was a kind of an anomaly. But this week we're a little bit more prepared than last week. Before we go any further, though, I wanted to bring your attention to this, just in case someone out there wants to help support what I'm doing. No pressure, but it is there. We can now do the buy me a coffee thing. I'm sure you guys have seen that before on other people's, live streams and web pages and things like that. I hadn't signed up for that yet, only just because I don't really drink much coffee. But no, the mechanism is there now. You can see it on the screen. Support me at buymeacoffee.com/Diamond Disc. Diamond Disc is my company name. I use that on most of the multimedia, platforms. I should say social media type platforms and multimedia as well, like Rumble and things like that. So anyway, yes, it's buymeacoffee.com/Diamond Disc. If you want to partake in that, you can do a one-time donation. I think you can even make them recurring, it looks like, which I have used that myself to donate to people, and it does seem to work pretty good. The one cool thing about it is, I think if someone does that, and you're certainly if you're willing to try it, go for it. If someone does a donation while we're live, it actually plays a little note, like makes a little sound and pop-up type thing on the live stream, I think. Of course, I've not had any way to actually test that, so I can't really confirm that for sure, other than that is what I'm told that it's supposed to do. So anyways, yes, let's move on here, but I just wanted to let you guys know about the Buy Me a Coffee thing. It is there, and again, no sweat, no hard sell here. I just wanted to mention it just because some people do like to do a one-off type of donation here and there, and makes it feel like they're giving back, and it's certainly very much appreciated here. As you know, we're using very, very brand new live stream software this week, as well as the last, 2 weeks. This is the third week on this live stream software. Same computer that we were using before, but new live stream software. It allows me to live stream at 1080p, which is full HD resolution, which is awesome. So the screen shares that I do are much crisper. And then also it allows me to live stream to multiple platforms, even more than I was before. I think we're on 7 different platforms tonight. We have 2 YouTube channels, 2 Facebook pages, Kick, Rumble, and Telegram. So we're on all of those platforms tonight, and confirmed that the Telegram is running tonight as well. If you happen to be on the Diamond Report page on Telegram, you can watch on there while we're live. So anyways, yes, let's get going here. We've got quite a bit to look at. And let's see. I never did really confirm that the comments that come in from the chat on Rumble are working, but I know they are on Kick, believe it or not. Kick actually does work. If you happen to be watching on there and leave a comment, in the chat, it does show up on the screen here on the burn-in over there. So anyway, yes. The interesting thing is, though, we've got lots of news to look at. So let's start with all of that, and we'll move away from this page. But we do have needtoknow.news. So let's start with that. A lot of articles from this site tonight. They always have really good news and information. Trump accused of insider trading after making 3,642 stock trades in companies that he promoted. Yes, well, it's okay when he does it, isn't it? Well, I don't know if it is or not, but he's doing it anyway, regardless. Trump's personal financial activity from January through March this year shows about 3,700 individual stock transactions were made, more than 40 trades per market day. The cumulative value of the trades is listed in broad ranges as required by federal ethics rules rather than exact figures. At the low end, total transactions exceed $220 million, and the ceiling approaches $750 million. So no wonder he didn't take a salary as the president of the United States. He's already made somewhere between $220 and $750 million. I mean, just since he's been in office, I guess. Trump's account was buying stocks in companies whose fortunes are directly shaped by his own administration's policy decisions. For example, Trump purchased millions of dollars of Oracle stock in early 2026. Around the same time, his administration was helping the company secure a deal to continue operating TikTok in the United States. So he just happened to know that was coming, so he bought stock in Oracle, of course. Trump is the first president to trigger the Stock Act disclosure requirement because he's the first to actively trade individual stocks while still in office. One could say because he is possibly the most corrupt. I don't know. I do know that he has turned into the largest Trojan horse ever conceived by this country. Donald Trump calls for Nancy Pelosi to be investigated for insider trading, but not him. No. Nancy Pelosi's net worth has skyrocketed to $270 million from insider trading. Well, that's true. Sounds like he's already surpassed whatever she's made. This is her net worth, but it sounds to me like he's already surpassed what she made just this year. So I don't know who's worse. Pelosi's pretty darn bad, I must say, but I think Trump may even be worse as far as this goes. So anyways, yeah, there's a little bit more information. Massively criminal. Data reveals someone made a staggering $800 million trade on oil exactly 15 minutes before Donald Trump posted a market-moving tweet about Iran. The Trump administration is facing severe allegations of massive insider trading and corruption. You think they will ever be held accountable? Yeah, me neither. So anyway, I don't know. I just wanted to bring your attention to that just because it doesn't seem to be something that very many people are talking about these days. Full article here is actually on AP News. But yeah, it's reposted on needtoknow.news. Again with the data centers. This isn't going away anytime soon. 50,000 homes set to lose power in Lake Tahoe in Cali due to an AI data center. Nevada Energy, NV Energy, a Nevada company that supplies electricity to Lake Tahoe that spans across both the California and Nevada border, or Nevada, as we say in Indiana, plans to end its wholesale arrangement with California-based Liberty Utilities by 2028. Interesting name. Nearly 50,000 customers potentially left in the lurch are blaming the proliferation of data centers that use enormous amounts of resources. NV Energy denies the proliferation of data centers played a role. Of course they do. NV Energy estimates the energy demand for just 12 data center projects across Nevada will be 5,900 megawatts. That's about 2.8 times the capacity of the Hoover Dam. We talked about the Hoover Dam last week, if you were here. Officials with Liberty Utilities insist that they'll find an alternative power supplier in time. The new source will likely come at a much higher price. So for my friends in Lake Tahoe, get ready. You're about to start shelling out the big bucks if you want to keep your power turned on. But it has nothing to do with the data centers. Don't look over there. When they say it has nothing to do about the data centers, you can believe it has everything to do about the data centers. This is a News Nation Now article, but again, reposted on needtoknow.news. So yeah, they're going to just shut the power off because they need the power at the data centers. The customers do not need the power, only the data centers, the computer systems, and the beast system needs the power. You get nothing. And lucky for you, you still have a little bit of water to drink. Once they really kick the data centers up into full steam ahead, you won't even have that. No water, no electricity for you. It's like the old Seinfeld episode, no soup for you. Well, no power and no water for you. All right, needtoknow.news. Another one. Back to the corrupt Trump administration. This is kind of all connected to the corrupt Trump administration. Larry Ellison's Oracle tracks Americans' behavior regarding health and entertainment. Oracle is a corporation that was co-founded by Larry Ellison, a Zionist billionaire worth as much as $270 billion. But of course, you would be anti-Semitic if you said that. So I'm not really saying that. Oracle has healthcare contracts with Medicare, Medicaid, and the VA, and data for 150 million Americans. It monitors streaming and cable. The Ellisons own Warner Brothers / Discovery, Paramount Plus, CBS, MTV, Nickelodeon, and Showtime, with 79 million plus subscribers. They are collecting information on social media after acquiring TikTok through a consortium board. TikTok has 170 million monthly users. Oracle has defense contracts with the Air Force and hosts workloads for all 18 U.S. intelligence agencies. All of the data collection is running simultaneously, and there are no firewalls between the medical, the military, and entertainment / news groups. So there you go. 1 minute video of Larry Ellison explaining how AI can force everyone to be on their best behavior. Should we watch it?
Body cameras. We completely redesigned body cameras. Our body cameras cost $70, and the camera's always on. You don't turn it on and off. And by the way you turn it on, you can't turn it on. I'm going to the bathroom. Oracle, I need 2 minutes to take a bathroom break, and we'll turn it off. The truth is, we don't really turn it off. I'm going to lunch with my friends. Oracle, I need an hour for privacy with lunch with my friends. God bless. We won't listen in unless there's a court order. But it's interesting. But we transmit the video back to headquarters. So headquarters and AI is constantly monitoring the video. The police will be on their best behavior because we're constantly watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
Big brother.
And it's unimpeachable. The cars have cameras on them. These are the kind of systems next generation systems we can build using AI.
There you go. What more do you need to know? What a scumbag this guy is. Larry. Former CIA, actually probably continues to be CIA. He was CIA, and the CIA set him up into business just like they've done so many other people. Now he's running the show, along with, having Trump's ear, and Trump just does whatever he's told or whatever is suggested to him as far as big tech goes. So anyway, this is actually from a Substack called The Dre Dossier on Substack. So, but that, again, reposted on needtoknow.news. Larry Ellison, Oracle. He's your buddy. He's actually the face of Big Brother, isn't he? Might as well be. All right, the big news for the week, or at least one big story. Thomas Massie was defeated by Israeli lobby that spent over $25 million amid curious vote results. Yeah, there were a lot of people really questioning what was going on there, and it does look very suspicious. Nonetheless, it doesn't appear that Massey's going to challenge it, from what I gather, at least not at this point. Representative Massey lost his re-election bid to a Trump-backed challenger, Ed Galrain. He's the warm body that Trump said he needed. It didn't matter who it was. He literally said, we just need a warm body who will take all of the AIPAC and Israel money, and we'll put him in instead of Thomas Massie. And that's exactly what happened. They bought the seat. Trump-backed challenger Ed Galrain in the Kentucky primary on May 20th. Massie was outspent in the most expensive congressional race in history. He referred to three pro-Israel billionaire donors, Paul Singer, Miriam Adelson via her PAC, her Political Action Committee, and John Paulson as funding super PACs opposing him. According to Grok, the $25 million figure is total ad spending in this record primary per something called Ad Impact, driven by those PACs plus AIPAC's United Democracy Project and the Republican Jewish Coalition. So, and you can't say those things without being officially labeled anti-Semitic. Because you can't point out the obvious. You can't point out the truth. If you do, you're anti-Semitic. So anyway, and then Ted Cruz, of course, criticizing and cheering wildly, I'm sure, that Ed Galrain will be replacing him. But Massie does still have some time. He's not instantly out. This was the primary. I think he's got another 7 months left in Congress. Says Ryan Matta, researcher activist, suggested that there were anomalies when comparing voting trends to Massey's past elections. Ed Galrain won the election by 10,280 votes. That's not much. In 2022, Massey's challenger only got 16,573 votes, and his challenger in 2024 got only 12,664 votes. But Ed Galrain reportedly earned over 57,000 votes in this election. 57,000. While Massey received about 47,000. Yeah, and the 10,000 that came in were mail-in ballots. And we all know, after COVID, we all know how corrupt those things are. They should instantly be thrown out. But of course, they were all counted, and they were all in favor of Ed Galrain. But nothing to see here at all. Don't pay attention. It appeared that less than 100 people attended Galrain's victory party. So, but yeah, again, nothing to see here. So this is a pretty interesting article. There's some good info on this needtoknow.news article, some embedded videos. You can see here, these are old numbers. This is showing Ed Galrain with 11 million from AIPAC, but it's at least 17 million from what I saw on some other graphics. So anyway, there is a little bit more info on here, and then we've got a little bit more on that. So here is a pretty interesting tweet that has to do with all that. It's actually it's something called Thread Reader app that gleans this information from X. Did Massey get 2020'd? Massey increased his turnout by 19% over 2024. Galrain increased the opposition turnout by 357%. And yet, he only had 100 people at his victory party. What does that tell you? Today's turnout doubled 2024's in the highest overall vote total in Kentucky history. Was this really driven by the get out the vote millions? And is that suspicious? ? Massey loses after 2026 vote total more than doubles the 2024 total. So again, looking at it a little closer, Massey had 47,000 votes and got 45% of the vote this time. And then just 2 years ago, he got almost 76% of the vote, having less than 40,000 votes. So he got way more votes. He was up 19% between 2024, 2026. He was up 19% over his past performance. But the opponent, Ed Galrain, drove up his numbers 356.6%. That is not even believable at all, is it? Are we really supposed to believe that boomers flooded the polls so hard that they overwhelmed every other demographic? The only group that Tel Aviv Ed, meaning Ed Galrain, won was 65 plus years old and above, and says boomers are a disgrace. Well, there are a lot that are, but there's a lot in every generation that aren't there? But yeah, the boomer generation really goes in for Israel, and of course that's who was targeted. But you can see this demographic here. Massey is in red, Galrain is in blue, and Massey just killed the numbers here between 18 and 64, really. And then Ed Galrain had the big numbers starting at 65 plus. 65 plus years old, but then also 65% of those people supported Galrain because he was pro-Israel, apparently. If we're supposed to believe these numbers. Galrain didn't do any debates, and no grassroots showed up to his campaign events at all, but we're supposed to believe that they came out to vote for him in record numbers. Lol. LOL. Massey also massively outraised Galrain in small dollar donations in both totals and number of donors. This is a huge signal for voter enthusiasm, but we're supposed to believe that Galrain's seniors and fewer small donors doubled the turnout from 2024. Again, lol. No, it really doesn't take very many when you have multiple people giving you billions of dollars, or certainly many, many millions of dollars. So that's a crazy small party for a historic record-breaking turnout. This is the Ed Galrain winning party. We had about 100 people. If they pan the whole camera around here, let me show it. And I would guess probably I don't know, who knows? At least some of them are going to be friends and relatives, not even necessarily people that ran out to vote for him. So if you throw those people out, you're probably talking about maybe 75 voters in there, possibly. You can see a few. There's a few. But the Massey crowd was massive. It was huge. Hundreds of people that were supporting him. I don't know if that video is it doesn't seem to be embedded here, but that is available. It's out there on Twitter, I know. So anyway, I guess we're supposed to believe that it's all legit and that it's just 10,000 votes that separated them. And when you look at the numbers, though, it's not actually even that. So here's what I found on that. This was a tweet that was posted really that night. Ed Galrain received 10,854 mail-in ballots, and Thomas Massey lost by 10,280. That is not a coincidence. So yeah, he lost by 10,280, and Ed Galrain received 10,854 mail-in ballots. He got just enough ballots to put him over the top, which is exactly what happened in 2020. So did Thomas Massey get 2020? I think he did. It sure looks like it. So that's the question. Will he do anything about it? Will he pursue it? I don't know. I'm not so sure that he will. He may not challenge it. I haven't heard that he is. But of course, people think that he should. And then, clearly this mail-in ballot fraud is something that's ongoing. And note that Trump is really worried about mail-in ballot fraud, except for when it's his guy that wins. Apparently it's okay when they do it. It's okay when Trump and team does it. Just not okay if Biden and team or Kamala and team do it, I guess. That's the way it looks to me. But what do I know? Anyway, that is pretty interesting, all about Thomas Massey. But yes, he's got another 7 months, I guess, in his office. So we'll see where that goes. I don't know. And I've got some more info actually on one thing he's planning. So we'll get to that in just a bit. Another need-to-know.news article. Northern Ireland, check this one out for believers out there. Northern Ireland convicts 78-year-old pastor for preaching near abortion clinic. A 78-year-old retired pastor, Clive Johnson, has been convicted and fined for preaching a gospel sermon near a hospital that performs abortion in Northern Ireland. This was his quote. "Naturally, I was deeply saddened by the verdict," end quote. Clive Johnson told Fox News, "At 78 years old, I never imagined I would leave a courtroom with a criminal conviction for preaching the Christian gospel. But beyond the personal impact, my overriding concern is what this says about the state of fundamental freedoms in our nation." Oh, yeah. Clive, buddy, they're gone. If you haven't noticed, they are gone. And they're not to come back, is my guess. At least not in Europe in general. You talk about Northern Ireland, but no, we're going to all be losing them little by little. Irish pastor Clive Johnson responds after he is convicted and fined for preaching John 3:16 in what is known as an abortion safe access zone. These zones now exist across the UK, Canada, and elsewhere. Free speech was given to us by God. Yeah, but the governments are all trying to take it away, and they're doing a pretty good job. I mean, if we let them. Yeah, Ireland is finally safe. Clive Johnson, I don't know, is it maybe Johnson or Johnston? Johnston. Clive Johnson has been convicted and can no longer menace the public. Yeah, with that terrible scripture stuff. Gosh. Johnson, 78, is a retired pastor who committed the heinous offense of preaching near the Causeway Hospital in Coleraine. That was considered within the Safe Access Zone under Northern Ireland's Abortion Services Safe Access Zones Act. The act prohibits influencing, preventing, or impeding access or causing harassment, alarm, or distress to a protected person within 100 meters, which is about 328 feet of facilities where abortions are performed. Yeah. Yeah, well, the babies didn't seem to mind, and they were the ones being aborted. So Johnson was found guilty of influencing inside the protected zone and fined about $614. It does not say, though, that they threw him in jail, which they probably would have if he was younger. It doesn't look like they did. But they did find him because he was preaching the gospel near a abortion facility. So, this is where we are. Breaking news that proves we are living in the end times. That's what this show is all about. And that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. Wanted to mention this. If you guys follow, Candace is talking about it all. Candace Owens asks if White House shooting was staged, going back to the White House Correspondents' Dinner a few weeks ago. The Erica Kirk video was questioned. Candace shared an email reportedly from the White House military office instructing people to amplify Erica Kirk's I Just Want to Go Home video from the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting. Candace revealed Erica Kirk was officially listed as an emotional asset, quote unquote, just an hour after the shooting, leading critics to believe that the shooting was used as a psychological operation. The White House denied that the White House military office wrote the damning email. However, when queried further, the White House has refused to respond to whether some other agency or of the government sent out the email. Candace is still being ghosted by the White House. Yeah, she's said that as such. Candace shares email reportedly from White House military office instructing people to amplify Erica Kirk's I Just Want to Go Home video from the WHCD shooting. Yeah, and this is the bride pictures here with Erica Kirk. Candace explained that she typed this email as a copy of an email from the White House. It's not the original government email received by the whistleblower, as the original may be used to identify the whistleblower. Yeah, I did find out some really interesting news about that. How one way that the government, probably other organizations, I'm sure too, not just the U.S. government, one way that they can identify whistleblowers, people who leak things, one way they can do that is by using AI to slightly alter, just slightly shift, change something in every single email that goes out. So for instance, you have an email you want to send out to a group of people, but it's sensitive information. You don't want that information out. So what you can do is set a trap for somebody who might leak that information. And the way you do it is when you type up your email, you hit send. It goes to AI, and then AI slightly alters each and every single email that gets sent out before it gets sent out. So it might change a spacing here, or add a watermark there, or misspell a word here or there. So literally everybody on your email list gets a slightly different email with the same context. So everybody gets the same information, but there is a way to track exactly every email that is received. So Candace, knowing this, retyped the information on the email so that that issue would not be found out. So it does not then make the whistleblower known who it was, who leaked the information. Very smart, very smart. So did you know that they could do that? That's one thing that our government is using taxpayer dollars and AI for. Isn't that lovely? Anyway, yeah, there's more here on this, and then there's several videos involved, and feel free to check that out. But it sure sounds really suspicious to me. This is the actual email. Let's see if we can get a good picture of it here. Yeah, this is a pretty good picture. So this is a screenshot, really, of the picture that's in the post that we were just looking at. It says addendum Erica Kirk video clip of Erica Kirk leaving the ballroom. This is the thing that she retyped, I guess. Video clip of Erica Kirk leaving the ballroom area and stating, "I just want to go home," is driving the highest engagement of all related content across platforms. This sounds like marketing material, doesn't it? Current digital assessment, strongest emotional response asset associated with incident, high cross-ideological circulation, elevated repost velocity among political commentary accounts, increased use of as a symbolic framing device regarding media conduct and national stability narratives. Recommendation: all communications channels should amplify this clip, coordinate with our digital partners and approved surrogates to elevate reach and ensure dominant placement in the overnight information environment. So that's the key here, really. Most viral engagement presently centered around attendee reaction clip, now circulating broadly across platforms. External commentary expect aligned outside commentators to independently amplify professionalism of protective response, media conduct during evacuation, political rhetoric escalation concerns, and broader executive stability themes. So this was the overall main article that she shared. So I don't know. I think that's probably all true. Now the question is, why do they do it? Why would they care about amplifying what Erica Kirk's trying to do, other than to make her whole story, her whole saga of all of the craziness that she's been involved in since Charlie's death seem more legit somehow? Who knows? It could all just be that. But it is very suspicious. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, that is a need-to-know.news article. Feel free to look at that if you guys are so inclined. And then we have the one article from the Liberty Beacon that I found that I wanted to mention. We are 6 months from global food shortages because farmers are facing a quadruple whammy crisis. How many is quadruple? I wonder if it's only 4. We are 6 months from global food shortages because farmers are facing a quadruple whammy crisis: extreme weather, which would be geoengineering, rising costs, supply chain disruptions, and geopolitical instability. Time is running out. Act now. Now, this is actually a Michael Snyder article from the Economic Collapse blog. But again, reposted on the Liberty Beacon. We have never faced anything quite like this. Diesel fuel and fertilizer have become far more expensive as a result of the conflict in the Middle East, and extreme weather is playing havoc with crops all over the planet. Here in the U.S., we just experienced the driest first 3 months of a year in recorded history. That is saying a lot. And we just got some rain here. I don't know if you guys did, but we've had some rain the last 3 or 4 or 5 days. Pretty steady. So it's going to help, us. I don't know about farmers that much necessarily right around here, but should. But yeah, the first 3 months of this year, the driest in recorded history. No, that is not an exaggeration. Now a super El Nino is coming, and that means that drought conditions are going to get even worse in many areas of the world. This super El Nino of 1877 to 78 resulted in widespread droughts that killed more than 50 million people, and now we're being warned that the upcoming super El Nino could be even worse. Our farmers have never faced a perfect storm of this magnitude, and global food production is going to be way down in the months ahead. So just letting you guys know, need to prepare as much as you can. It says the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization is publicly warning that a severe global food crisis could strike about 6 months from now if something really dramatic does not happen. Closure of the Strait of Hormuz could trigger a severe global food price crisis within 6 to 12 months unless governments act quickly. And Food and Agriculture Organization had warned on Wednesday decisions by farmers and governments on fertilizer use, imports, financing, and crop choices will determine whether food price spikes later this year or in early 2027, the agency said. I don't know what national governments around the world are supposed to do. They can't create fertilizer out of thin air. Well, all they have to do is start talking, and they do that already. That's lots of fertilizer. Thanks to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, millions of farmers all over the Northern Hemisphere did not get the fertilizers that they needed for the spring planting season. So it goes on. There's quite a bit here. Again, Michael Snyder, good work, and he kind of details it all out here, including the information about the Super El Nino, which is something that Mr. Dane has also been talking about pretty regularly, just because they've been touting that in the news. So this is the year of the Super El Nino, and who knows what that's going to look like, but my guess is it's not going to be good. Again, breaking news that proves we are living in the end times. I think that, again, another story that seems to be part of that. Famine. And we know, one of the riders, one of the seals to be broken, one of the seals that already has been broken, most likely, in the book of Revelation that talks about is famine. So, man, it's not looking good. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention in case you wanted to have a look at that. All these links will be on the Substack post that I send out later in the week, probably Tuesday. maybe Wednesday. It just depends, but usually it's around Tuesdays. So make sure you're on that list. You can get to that Diamond Disc Substack by using the QR scan code in the upper corner up there, and that'll take you right to it. It'll take you to the list that has the link on it for Substack. So make sure that you are on that list so that you get all these articles. You can look it up on your own if you want. This particular article is on Economic Collapse blog and also on the Liberty Beacon. All right, so this one, got a couple of technocracy.news articles for tonight. Tokenization, the two-rail trap. Again, embedded player, if you want to hear the whole breakdown here. Now, this is posted from Courtney Turner, which I think she is here in Tennessee. I've seen an interview with her before. My co-author and I, probably meaning, Patrick Wood and Courtney Turner. My co-author and I will continue to hammer on tokenization because it is the monster on the loose. The clear and present danger, it is redefining ownership from the bottom up. Your sovereign property will be subverted and turned into user rights where you will own nothing. Where have we heard that before? In reality, tokenization of all assets is the biggest heist in the history of the world. That it is. This is part 4 in the tokenization series on this website. The SEC is about to authorize a second parallel path for putting U.S. equities on chain, one that does not have to be the equity at all. Read alongside the DTCC rollout. It's not a competition between models. It's a pincer. The move the market refused to hear. Part 1, the tokenization of everything. I described the asset layer, programmable digital instruments inside a regulated bank-integrated ecosystem where ownership quietly mutates into conditional permission. Part 2, the proof of persona. I described the persona layer, identity, eligibility, attention, and eventually body-derived signals rendered into ledger-native attestations. Sounds like Mark of the Beast, doesn't it? In part 3, the tokenization choke point, I documented what the DTCC announced on May 4th, 2026. The rollout of the institutional asset layer, scheduled for July production trades and an October launch with 50 of the world's largest financial firms in the working group. The DTCC rail was, I argued, the institutional half of the architecture, the same legal entitlement wrapped in a programmable, freezable, forcible, force-transferable, sanction-screen compliance envelope. Same rights, same protections, same entitlements on paper, programmable, reversible, permissioned by design in the actual code. I closed part 3 by saying that rollout begins in July this year. The architecture is not yet closed, and the argument cannot wait. 2 weeks later, the other shoe dropped. On May 19th, 2026, Forbes published Zenon Capran's piece called America is About to Have Two Stock Markets for the Same Company. Bloomberg had reported the day before that the SEC's innovation exemption for tokenized stocks could land within the week. The agency under Chair Paul Atkins, Project Crypto, is preparing to bless a second path for putting U.S. equities on chain. I think they mean on blockchain. And the second path is not the same as the same product as the first. The institutional rail captures the spine of the U.S. capital markets through DTCC. The crypto native rail captures retail, offshore, and 24/7 price discovery through Robinhood, Kraken, Bybit, Backed, Xstocks, BNB Chain, and the rest. Together, the two rails do not compete, they enclose. So more description here and a lot more information on this if this is interesting to you guys. But talking about why the pincer works and where it's headed. This is all being built out now. It's all being developed now. There's a lot here. So that is a technocracy.news article on tokenization. One of those things that I think will be important to know, at least basics about. And then from that, an assessment of the accelerating timeline for you will own nothing. got the people protesting the data centers, which that's a big distraction too, isn't it? This is from Patrick Wood as well. I am an economist first and foremost, Patrick says. I'm going to give you a sobering look at the progression of technocracy and what to expect in the future. Take it for what it is. I have been following the global elite and technocracy for over 48 years. And since my first book with Anthony Sutton called Trilaterals Over Washington, Volumes 1 and 2, I've never pulled any punches and never watered anything down. I've been warning for 12 years that the end game was upon us. When Klaus Schwab declared at the 2016 World Economic Forum that you will own nothing and be happy, most observers treated it as an aspirational futurism. A decade later, the architecture to deliver the first half of that sentence is being built in front of us, and it's being built faster than nearly anyone outside the industry has acknowledged. I've been documenting technocracy for almost 20 years. The pattern is always the same. The technocrats describe the future they intend to build. Critics dismiss the description as paranoia. The future arrives on schedule. Then a new generation is told the new arrangement was inevitable. What is different this time is the speed, and the speed is itself accelerating. I want to lay out a defensible timeline for May 2026 with the full understanding that it will look different in 6 months. That is not a hedge. And we just read a couple articles ago about 6 months from now with the food shortages coming. Just mentioning that. That is not a hedge. This is a feature of the moment that we're in. The compressors are themselves compressing. The original estimates were too conservative. The AI acceleration, the technocratic capture, the 5,000 data centers. And it's all unfolding now. We mentioned Pax Silica last week. The federal wrapper around state property law. BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, WIP, says the BIS WIP, the rolling process, the revised timeline as of May 2026. Why it will be brutal. So it looks like they're, according to this timeline here, full 10-wave sequence completed by 2032 to 2034. And that's if they get their timeline. And personally, I think that Jesus will cut short the time that they have by coming back himself. However, just know that this is what the elite want to do. This is all detailed out here on this technocracy.news article as far as the build out and the tokenization and the AI data centers and how it's all connected. Pretty interesting, huh? All right, and then another big story. This week, Miss Tulsi Gabbard has resigned from Trump's cabinet for a heartbreaking reason. Yeah, well, it is a heartbreaking reason, I'll give you that, but it's not entirely true either, based on what I've heard. So let me start with this. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has announced she will resign from Trump's cabinet effective June 30. Gabbard posted her resignation letter on X, explaining the reason for her resignation is to care for her husband, who is fighting an extremely rare form of bone cancer. Wonder if he took the COVID you-know-whats. And then she says here, today with great humility and sincere appreciation, I shared the below letter with Trump, and it's been a profound honor to serve the American people as DNI. Then the actual letter is embedded here. And then Gabbard says her husband, Abraham, faces major challenges in the coming weeks and months, and she must step away from public service to be by his side and fully support him through this battle. Unfortunately, I must submit my resignation, effective June 30. So that's all true. And yes, it is sad. And we need to pray for her and her husband for sure. Maybe he can get past this. That doesn't sound very good, though, does it? Nonetheless, God can heal. No, what I heard was that she was told, either resign or you're going to get fired. Resign or you will be fired by Trump. So I don't know if that's true or not, but it does make a lot of sense. He tried to fire her before and got talked out of it. And I think that he is absolutely trying to get rid of anyone who is someone that he can't 100% rely on to do anything and everything in Israel's best interest. And Tulsi would be one of those people, apparently, because she's on the way out now, too. So, yeah, another big story for this week. Daily Signal is where that one was. So, yes, we'll see what happens. I don't know if she'll stay out of the political arena for a while, perhaps. It's very possible. Then this is the SIFT article on the same subject. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi, announces resignation. I cannot in good conscience ask him to face this fight alone while continuing in the demanding and time-consuming position. Her last day at her post will be June 30th. Who will be taking over for Gabbard? Gabbard did not say in her letter who would replace her. She said that she was committed to ensuring a smooth transition between herself and her successor. So, I don't know. Whoever is pro-Israel first and foremost will be replacing her. That's all that really matters, apparently, according to Trump. And whether or not they can do the job is only secondary. All right, here's another article from the SIFT on WNG.org. Secret Service says gunman dead after opening fire near White House. So another would-be assassin here, I guess. Plot foiled. I guess we have one of these about every couple weeks, it seems like. Secret Service officers shot and killed a gunman Saturday evening after he opened fire near the White House, according to a statement issued by the law enforcement agency. Trump was in the White House at the time of the incident, but neither he nor any Secret Service protectees were injured. Shortly after 6 p.m., man in the area of 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue pulled a weapon from his bag and began firing. According to the statement, Secret Service police returned fire and hit the man. He was rushed to the hospital where he was declared dead. Bystander was also hit, according to the statement. Secret Service did not elaborate on the extent of the bystander's injuries. None of the officers were injured. The incident remains under investigation. Yeah, it says Secret Service responding to shots fired near the White House. Somewhere I saw it looked like he was 21 or something. A youngster, pretty young guy. U.S. Secret Service said that it was aware of shooting reports and was working to corroborate information with personnel on the ground. Director Kash Patel added that his bureau had personnel on the scene supporting the Secret Service. D.C. police also said that they responded. Officials said they would release more information to the public just as soon as they were able. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, yeah. Another attempted shooting. Somebody apparently really happy. He's probably a former Trump voter, I'm guessing, that did the shooting. I don't know. Tens of thousands evacuated due to wildfire near Los Angeles. Here we go again. Evacuation orders remained in place Thursday, a few days ago now, for tens of thousands of Californians in Ventura County and parts of Los Angeles County while firefighters battled the Sandy fire. The fire covered 2,215 acres, was just 15% contained as of Wednesday night last week, according to Ventura County's emergency communications site. The number of people under evacuation orders reduced to about 17,000 on Wednesday, down from nearly 44,000 on Tuesday. So this was a little earlier in the week last week, but yeah, the wildfires have apparently started big time again in California. Lots of dry. Lots of desertification seems to be going on with this. I don't know, maybe not quite that bad, but a lot of drought across the U.S. with the lack of rain at this point and the heavy geoengineering. The blaze began as a fast-moving brush fire sometime around Tuesday, originating near homes in the town of Simi Valley, roughly 30 miles from L.A. At least one home burned and many others were threatened, according to local news. Tractor striking a rock may have sparked the fire, but the official cause was still unknown. They usually blame it on some homeless person somewhere, which sometimes that is what happens, because there are a lot of them in California. Okay, another one from the SIFT. Openly gay former Congressman, financial reformer Bonnie Frank dies at 86. I say it that way because that's how he said his own name, Bonnie Frank. Yeah, I knew he'd been sick for a while. He was in hospice. Longtime former Democrat congressman from Massachusetts, Barney Frank, died Tuesday at age 86, according to Congress's website. He entered hospice in April due to complications of congestive heart failure, according to the AP. Citing Frank's former campaign manager, Frank represented Massachusetts' 4th congressional district for more than 30 years. Yeah, he was a fixture during the Clinton administration in particular. That's what I remember him from. He's really known for this. Frank, well, he's known for a couple things. In particular, this, though, in Congress. Frank also co-authored the 2010 Dodd-Frank Act, which was really bad news. We'll get to that. The other thing he's known for is that he was known for championing liberal causes and was one of the first openly homosexual members of Congress. And that he was, flamingly so. He also co-authored the 2010 Dodd-Frank Act, which changed banking regulations in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis. The act introduced new consumer protections, I don't know if I'd call them that, capital requirements for banks, and greater oversight authority for regulators. After 32 years in Congress, Frank chose not to run for re-election in 2012. He legally married his male romantic partner and moved to Maine, where he died. Says in Frank's final weeks, he gave a variety of interviews urging Democrats to tone down their most unpopular parts of their agenda and lean toward the mainstream in order to retake the White House. He did do that. I remember reporting that on this very show, that he was out there, because I was saying it's really bad when Barney Frank's telling you you're too crazy, and that's what he was telling the left. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, the Dodd-Frank Act. Not good. So you can investigate that on your own if you want. But one thing I know that came out of that was whenever you make a deposit of a personal type, like a check or whatever that goes into your bank account, basically the bank's money at that point. So that all changed with the Dodd-Frank Act, 2010. So anyways, yeah. More craziness. Got some RT articles. RT walks human rights chief through college dorm destroyed in Ukrainian attack. Yeah, did you know Ukraine used, several hundred, I think, drones on Russia recently. And one of the things they blew up was a college dorm in Russia. Russia's Human Rights Commissioner has visited the site of the deadly Ukrainian attack in the college of Starobilesk. Russia's newly appointed Human Rights Commissioner has visited the destroyed college dorm in the town of Starobilesk. The Ukrainian attack killed at least 21 people, many teenage girls, because that's what Zelensky and company like to do. The commissioner visited the college on Sunday, meeting foreign journalists invited by Russia to report from the scene. While more than 50 reporters from 19 nations accepted the invitation, most Western mainstream outlets ignored it. Yeah, because they're on the side of the actual murderers. RT's Gadziev, who was among the first reporters to reach the scene shortly after the attack and worked at the site during the nearly 2-day search and rescue effort, walked the human rights person here from Russia through the heavily damaged building. We arrived here hours after the attack occurred. Nobody knew what was happening yet. Everyone was in panic. The two walked through the building, which was still littered with students' belongings, books, and destroyed furniture. Blood-stained blankets were still visible in the hall, where first responders pulled the deceased and where devastated parents had to identify their sons and daughters killed in the attack. Wow. So sad. You send your kid off to college, they're living in a dorm, and they get bombed by Ukraine's drone. Because that's what we all want, isn't it? Yeah, well, it just happened in Russia. Probably didn't hear much about that, I'm guessing. Chemical blast fears trigger mass evacuation in California. More fun for California if you don't have wildfires trying to burn your house down. You can have a chemical fire, chemical blast. Authorities fear that a pressurized tank containing methacrylate could rupture near residential neighborhoods in Orange County. Up to 50,000 residents have been ordered to evacuate parts of Orange County. This was earlier today, as authorities warned that a damaged chemical tank remains at risk of leaking or exploding. Governor Newsom has declared a state of emergency in Orange County as emergency crews work to contain the crisis at the GKN Aerospace Facility in Garden Grove. It's an interesting name, isn't it? I wonder if they're a defense contractor. The pressurized tank contains between 6,000 and 7,000 gallons of methacrylate, a highly flammable industrial chemical used in plastic production. Wow. The incident began Thursday when the tank started venting vapors, according to Orange County Fire Authority. Later, officials were said that there was no active gas leak or plume, but warned that the vessel remained unstable and could still fail. Responders believed initially that the situation had stabilized after crews cooled the exterior with water, following drone thermometer readings showing the temperature had fallen to 61 degrees Fahrenheit. It was later discovered that the drones had measured only the outer shell of the container, while manual readings showed the internal heat levels were still rising. Wow. So that's why they, I guess, decided to evacuate. By yesterday, temperatures inside the vessel had climbed to around 90 degrees, with emergency personnel saying the heat was increasing by roughly 1 degree an hour. Authorities also said the damaged or gummed up valves were preventing the crews from removing the chemical or relieving the pressure. Emergency teams have tried cooling the vessel and adding a neutralizing agent, while containment barriers have been set up to limit environmental contamination if the tank fails. Evacuation orders were initially limited to residents living within 3 miles, were later expanded to parts of Orange County and cities of Garden Grove, Cypress, Stanton, Anaheim, Buena Park, and Westminster, affecting up to 50,000 people. The substance can easily ignite and release toxic fumes if the container ruptures and explodes. So, man, what a mess. Hopefully this won't happen. But yeah, more fun for California. That's an article that is on RT. Speaking of explosions, this one's pretty weird. I was kind of wondering about this. Let me know what you guys think about it. I'm going to read through some of this. And this isn't really, you would think this would be an oops, like a really big oops in Elon Musk world, but maybe not. I don't know. It says, watch SpaceX Starship explode on splashdown as expected. The upgraded spacecraft completed a key test flight before bursting into flames in the Indian Ocean. So you can see it bursting into flames right there. SpaceX's Starship rocket exploded in a fireball after splashing down in the Indian Ocean on Friday, capping what the company described as a successful test flight of its next-generation spacecraft. So that's what they're calling success, when it lands and then blows up. That's nice. The massive rocket lifted off from SpaceX's Starbase facility in Texas at around 6:30 Eastern and flew for around 66 minutes. Always has to be, I'm surprised it's not 33 minutes. 66 minutes before the upper stage Starship re-entered the atmosphere, performing its landing burn and reached its planned splashdown zone. So this is liftoff here. That they're able to do what they can do.
US 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
So here we go.
Ignition. We have liftoff.
Pitching downrange.
Pretty amazing. Look at that cloud back there. It looks like a sheep. See that?
Booster Raptor, chamber pressure nominal.
So there it is. Let me back up to the cloud. Look at this. Right there. What is going on with that square cloud? It's too far away to be from the liftoff. So I don't know what's going on there. Seconds after touching the water, the vehicle tipped over and burst into flames. Footage from SpaceX livestream shows. The explosion was not considered a failure, as the spacecraft was not designed to be recovered from the ocean. Many previous Starship test flights have also ended with the vehicle exploding during reentry or landing attempts, but SpaceX treats these incidents as part of its rapid development program. So leave it to Elon Musk to just say, yeah, we meant to do that when the rocket explodes, and we're supposed to believe that it was supposed to happen. During the mission, the Starship deployed dummy Starlink satellites, so not even real ones, around 20 minutes after launch and tested new hardware, including heat-shielded changes intended to stress the vehicle during reentry. Well, I guess that worked. At least one of these spacecraft's 6 engines reportedly malfunctioned during the flight, but the vehicle still completed its main objectives and reached the splashdown zone. The Super Heavy booster separated earlier in the flight and reportedly performed a hard splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico. But it's the Gulf of Trump now, right? After only a handful of engines reignited for a boost back burn. Starship is central to SpaceX's long-term plans, including NASA's Artemis lunar program and Elon Musk's ambition to build a reusable transport system capable of reaching Mars. Never happened. The latest test used an upgraded version of the Starship, which SpaceX hopes will eventually carry satellites, cargo, and crews to the moon and Mars. Well, count me out if you're going to blow up the rocket. I don't think I would want any part of that one. But, yeah, there it is. Kaboom. But, yeah, Elon says, we meant to do that. I just find that very strange. Now, here's the other video. Let me think. I think it's this one.
This is a view from...
Hold on. Let me fast forward to this. See if this is what I think it is. No, it's not this one. Hold on one sec. It must be this one. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to play this. I'm going to mute it for just a minute. So this is the part where the splashdown happens. And here's what I was trying to get at in this. This is what's highly suspicious to me. Now, this is where it hits, and then it falls over and blows up. But watch how jubilant the entire crew on the ground is. And I'm going to unmute it so you can hear it.
Buoy cam.
That's all the cheering.
Good shot on.
And they do more when that happens. And then they show the crew. Watch. I just don't think this doesn't. Look, every single person acts like they just won like the World Series or the Super Bowl or something, and they're jumping up and down, pretending like this was the greatest thing ever. And they're all away from their stations. They're just standing there for the photo op. We're supposed to believe this. This is the nonsense that we're being fed.
Amazing.
Look, they're even up around the balcony. Nobody's doing their job anymore. They're just hearing the blowing up rocket. I don't think so, Elon. I'm sorry. I don't buy any of that. We never went to the moon. It's all a lie. Don't believe the BS. Barbara Streisand. Bruce Springsteen. Yeah, Ben Shapiro. You could throw him in there too. All right, dozens dead in Chinese coal mine explosion. So did you know about this? This is really sad. President Xi has ordered an all-out rescue operation after a blast rocked the Lushengyu mine in the northern part of the country. At least 82 miners have been killed after a gas explosion tore through a coal mine in northern China in the Shanxi province, with rescue efforts still underway. Blast occurred on Friday evening at the mine, according to their, I guess their news network here, Xinhua 247 24/7 probably. Workers were on duty underground at the time of the incident. CCTV said 9 people are still unaccounted for. The cause is still unclear. Earlier report suggested that carbon monoxide levels exceeded the limits inside the mine. It sounds like they were the canaries in the proverbial coal mine, doesn't it? Literally a coal mine. And 82 people dead. President Putin expressed his condolences. Coal is a key source of energy for China, powering more than half of the nation's energy consumption. Yeah, and they have no limits on any of it. We have all these scrubbers and all this stuff supposedly on our coal mines, on our coal processing here, and they don't have to do any of that stuff because they're considered a non-first world country. Yeah, whatever. I don't think that's true. All right, Singularity Hub, again with the data centers. We just can't get away from it, and probably rightfully so. We should keep talking about it. Data centers now consume 6% of U.S. electricity, and the backlash has begun. Strong opposition kicks in when data center demand surpasses 5% of a country's power supply. Well, we've already passed that. And how many more thousands of data centers are they trying to build? As the AI boom accelerates, governments and utilities are struggling to keep pace with the industry's huge energy demands. New figures suggest data centers now consume about 6% of the electricity in the United States, raising concerns about grid capacity and environmental impacts. Yeah, we heard just last week, I don't know if you remember, that the new data center that they're getting ready to build in Utah, 5 miles by 5 miles, was going to be about the same as having 23 atomic bombs going off every single day. The heat from 23 atomic bombs going off every single day. That's the kind of heat it's going to put out. Isn't that lovely? So that sounds like that sounds like that was a buy me a coffee. Did you guys hear that? I'll have a look here in a minute. But thank you if that's what that was. But yeah, that's pretty concerning, isn't it? 6% of electricity in the U.S., raising concerns about grid capacity and environmental impacts. Data centers have always been energy hungry, but the AI explosion is causing computing demand to skyrocket. The biggest data centers now consume as much electricity as small cities and are proliferating at breakneck speed. A new report from the International Data Center Authority finds that the total power draw of all these facilities has now hit 67.7 gigawatts. Man, a 36% jump in over 2 years. The U.S. alone accounts for 29.2 gigawatts of that total, roughly 43% of global consumption. Okay, so they're saying 67.7 gigawatts worldwide, and the U.S. accounts for about half of that. Our real-time data shows that many very large AI factories are coming into operation, spiking up total U.S. consumption. So anyway, yeah, U.S. now devotes 6% of its total electricity to data centers. Wow. And they want more. More is always what they want. You know, just having one or two and just being, you know, in the lead by a few is not enough. They have to be in the lead by thousands. So isn't that insane? Let's see what happened with the Buy Me a Coffee. Yes. An avid supporter. Yes, I appreciate you. Plus, I wanted to see if it makes a noise. Lol. So thank you, an avid supporter. And it did. I heard the noise. I don't know if you guys heard it or not. Let me know in chat if you did. But yes, thank you so much. Very much appreciated. And I guess it did work. So that's good. Anytime you hear that little doink sound, that's what that was. So thank you again. Appreciate it very much. All right. So yeah, apparently tranche number 2 of the UFO release has now come out. And there were some interesting videos. This first one here even is fairly interesting. We'll look at that. Says, cleared for release May 22nd. We're back on war.gov/UFO. case you're wondering. Department of War is in lockstep with Trump to bring unprecedented transparency regarding our government's understanding of unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAP. These files, hidden behind classifications, have long fueled justified speculation, and it's time the American people see it for themselves. This release of declassified documents demonstrates the Trump administration's earnest commitment to unprecedented transparency, except for all of the Epstein files and all of the stuff about building out the beast system and the AI data centers taking over all of the water and taking over the electrical grids, and otherwise, pretty good transparency when it comes to UFOs. Although we're not really telling you much of anything. I'll just sum it up there. Hopefully that helped. Yeah, so this is one video that came out, and it is weird. Here it is. I'm going to mute it. But it looks like, it reminds me of those boats that Trump was blowing up that had the fentanyl on them, supposedly. You suppose that's what it is? The aliens are now transporting fentanyl? Is that what's going on? And if so, why didn't he blow it up? He's got 3 right there. Well, really 4. There goes one flying by there. Now, I have no idea what this is. This says on March 6th, 8 members of the U.S. House of Representatives requested access to 51 potentially UAP-related records allegedly held by the Department of War and Intelligence Community. The All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, how about that? The AARO, identified a collection of responsive materials held on a classified network. Many of these materials lack a substantiated chain of custody. AARO assesses that this video, whose uploader defined title is For UAP Formation Iran, it's in Iran, 26th of August 2022. So it's 4 years old. Over water, is what they say here, is likely derived from an infrared sensor aboard a U.S. military platform operating within the United States Central Command Area of Responsibility in 2022. A user uploaded this video to a classified network in June 2024. So that's all we got, I guess, just 9 seconds of craziness. But it does look like if it's the aliens, they are enjoying jet skiing or something. I don't know. But that is kind of strange. I don't know what that is. It's not aliens. I'm just teasing. Okay. So that was just the first one listed here on war.gov/UFO. And if you guys want to peruse this site at all, it does actually say under type over here if it's a video or a PDF. Apparently that's pretty much all there is. Here, let's skip down to this one and see what this is. Oh, that's interesting. And there's a little blurb over there on the left, supposedly explaining a little bit about what this is about. See? So we won't go through all those, but this particular video is 8 minutes of hard to see dots flying by. So thanks again, Donald Trump. That's really, really good information. Certainly appreciate that. He's out there working hard for us, isn't he? Well, anyway, there are PDFs and videos on this site. There's more here than we could ever look at because there's, at least 7 pages. Yeah. So there's a bunch. Anyway, there you go. If you want to check out tranche number 2, and apparently they have the little tabs here on each one, so I don't know how many there are going to be, but this line across here is pretty long, so maybe they're going to be doing a lot of releases. So you got release 1, right, from May 8th, tranche 1, and then 2 from May 22nd. So that's how you navigate that, and it does say video and PDF for each thing. If you are interested in perusing the government website on UFOs, which you probably just tonight saw as much as you need to see. I think that's as much as I need to see. All right, let's keep going here. ARS Technica is the name of this site. FBI seeks U.S.-wide access to license plate cameras once data in near real time. FBI will pay vendors to help it track and search for vehicles nationwide. Why would they want to do that? The FBI announced plans to buy nationwide access to a network of license plate readers. I guess this is probably those flock cameras, saying it will award contracts to one or more vendors that can offer near real-time information from cameras across the U.S. The proposed contract is for the FBI Directorate of Intelligence to evaluate and manage threats to personal safety, property, and law enforcement. Yeah, right. The FBI requires professional service firms that can provide license plate readers, also known as LPRs, for tracking subjects on roads and highways over the U.S. and its territories, the FBI said in a request for proposal published on May 14th. FBI said the winning bidder or bidders must provide law enforcement and or commercial license plate reader data provided through the contractor's existing platform. The system must cover 75% of locations. So they really want nationwide here. So just know that they're reaching out for, here's Flock. They're reaching out here for nationwide license plate readers at the FBI. Now, this is, I guess, if we're supposed to believe they don't already have access to that. Now, my guess is they probably do, actually, and that this is just one division of the FBI that's asking for this that may not already have access, but my guess is the FBI probably can already do it. Why wouldn't they? Flock and Motorola Solutions potential bidders. Flock and Motorola Solutions are well positioned to bid on the contract. As 404 Media noted yesterday, both companies could win part of the job. As the FBI said, it may award contracts to multiple vendors to achieve its desired level of access. And don't you know they want plenty of access? License plate readers. Flock. Sharing is opt-in for local police. Anyway, that's an article again on ARS Technica. That's where that one is. Okay, I came across this one, and I did watch this because I wanted to see what he said about it. But this is Tucker Carlson. Tucker's official response to Thomas Massey's defeat in the beginning of a new America. The Israel lobby takes out Thomas Massey and kills MAGA in the process. The good news is we've now confirmed how the system works. Well, that's one way of looking at it, and that is the system. Israel runs our foreign policy and our domestic policy. We know that now. Like, there was not really a question in my mind, but it's proven fact. Speaking of which, Trump jokes about running for Israeli prime minister. And he's joking about it, but it's a trial balloon. He's just putting it out there so that if he ever really wanted to, he can say, well, see, I talked about it.
I'm right now at 99% in Israel. I could run for prime minister. So maybe after I do this, I'll go to Israel, run for prime minister. I had a poll this morning. I'm 99%. So that's good.
What have you said to Prime Minister Netanyahu about Iran and how long to hold off on strike?
He's fine. He'll do whatever I want him to do. He's very, very good man. He'll do whatever I want him to do, and he's a great guy. To me, he's a great guy. Don't forget, he was a wartime prime minister.
Trump says, yeah, Netanyahu's a great guy. He'll do anything I want him to do. I think he's got that exactly backwards, don't you? Meaning Netanyahu should be saying that about Trump. Not that he's a great guy, but that he will do anything he tells him to do. But yeah, he's joking about having 99% approval in Israel for his work that he's doing. Yeah, well, he's got a 35% approval rating in his own country, of which technically, supposedly, he's the president of the United States. And 35% approval, but 99% approval in Israel. What does that tell you? That tells me the man is a traitor. That's what that tells me. He's working, literally working for another country. And he's out there bragging about it. So sick. So speaking of which, did you know that the U.S. Department of Justice has permanently exempted Trump and his family from tax audits. That just came out within the last few days. U.S. Department of Justice has permanently exempted Trump and his family from tax audits. According to Reuters, Justice Department has imposed a permanent and uncontested ban on any tax audits of previously filed tax claims against the head of state, his family, and related businesses. This comes as Trump made a record 3,700 stock market trades since the beginning of the year, a record for any U.S. president, which is the very first article that we talked about tonight. So now he's literally given a free license to do anything he wants financially, and the IRS will just turn their back. They'll turn their head. They'll totally ignore it. It doesn't matter. He can do anything he wants. He is above the law. And not only him, his entire family. I wonder how deep that goes. I wonder how far down the family line that goes. Must be nice, huh? Literally above the law. The exact stuff that he campaigned against. Again, the world's biggest Trojan horse of all time, Donald Trump. I just noticed this. Let's see if we can see this picture. Look at this. Did you know that the Internal Revenue Service building is at 1111 Constitution Avenue? I wonder why they picked that number, 1111. Why would they do that? I don't know. But I just noticed that. Very strange. They like their numbers, for sure. Anyway, yeah, so Trump gets a complete pass on anything and everything that has to do with the IRS. I wonder if he even has to bother filing anymore. I mean, why would he? So effectively, you know, all the stuff he talked about during the campaign, on the campaign trail, where he said, "Oh, he's going to do away with the IRS." He did say that. Remember, what we didn't know was he meant he's going to do away with the IRS for him and his family. Did you know that? That's what he really meant, but he didn't bother to tell us, the little people. So this is a weird one. You guys offended by watermelon? Apparently somebody is. Look at this one. Armstrong Economics. German intelligence deems watermelon emoji hate speech. So quick, put some watermelon emojis in the chat. I dare you. Germany will not like it. Germany has reached the point where even a watermelon can now be treated as a political threat. That is how absurd Europe has become, according to reports surrounding the latest anti-Semitism controversy in Germany. Oh, I don't know why watermelons are anti-Semitic, but according to Germany, they are. Authorities and institutions are increasingly targeting symbols tied to pro-Palestinian activism, including a watermelon symbol that protesters began using after Palestinian flags and imagery started facing restrictions in some settings. So that's what it means. So you're supporting Palestine if you put a watermelon emoji somewhere. So therefore, all watermelons have to be banned. The emojis, I guess, not quite the fruit yet. But won't they just go to a different fruit or different something else if the watermelon emoji gets banned? That's usually how it works. Think about how insane this has become. A watermelon is now being politically analyzed for hate speech implications while Europe is collapsing economically, energy prices remain elevated, migration tensions are exploding, and Germany itself is entering one of the worst industrial downturns since World War II. Instead of fixing the economy, Berlin is policing fruit symbolism and online speech. I have warned that Germany has been moving steadily towards censorship for years. They raid homes over social media posts. They do the same thing in the UK, by the way. Prosecute citizens for insults online and constantly expand speech laws under the excuse of fighting extremism. The problem is, governments never stop at genuine extremism. Once censorship machinery exists, everything eventually becomes, quote, dangerous. Today, it's a watermelon emoji. Tomorrow, it becomes criticism of migration policy, opposition to war, or questioning government spending. The Germans of all people should understand where this road leads. Oh, I don't think so. I don't think they do. Do you? Europe has convinced itself that suppressing speech somehow eliminates social anger. It does not. It only drives resentment underground where it becomes more radicalized. History has shown repeatedly that governments trying to regulate political thought always end up creating even greater instability. The frightening part is the sheer hypocrisy. Europe claims to defend democracy while simultaneously deciding which symbols, opinions, protests, and political expressions are acceptable. A watermelon itself is obviously not hateful. It's a piece of fruit. What governments fear is not the symbol itself. They fear losing control over public opinion as anger grows across Europe over war, migration, inflation, and collapsing living standards. This is the real crisis developing in Germany, not merely anti-Semitism, which absolutely exists and should be condemned, again, according to Armstrong Economics here, but I think it's free speech, personally, but the broader destruction of open discourse itself. Once governments begin defining ordinary political symbolism as dangerous, free society is already in serious trouble. I agree, but you shouldn't start by limiting anti-Semitism, which of course is only free speech. It doesn't mean now what it meant originally. We went through this before, many shows ago. Originally, anti-Semitism meant that the Jewish person, say a Jewish student, doesn't get admitted to a college. So the college is being anti-Semitic by not letting them in because they're Jewish, right? Does that happen anymore? Is that even a question? Of course not. If you're Jewish, now that would be a positive. That would be a plus. That would be advantageous if you're trying to get into a college. So that's just a very small example. But the word doesn't mean today what it used to mean. And so being anti-Semitic today is strictly free speech. And if you're not allowing what you would call ugly speech, as Charlie Kirk defined it, which is simply stuff that you don't agree with, then you are putting a limit on free speech. And that is what the watermelon emoji over in Germany represents. So pretty weird, huh? I didn't even know about the watermelon emoji, and it didn't mean what I had assumed that it probably would mean, but nope, it has to do with anti-Semitism. Okay, because it's now the Palestinian flag. I guess because it's green and red. I don't know. All right, this is from The Guardian. And for you Make America Healthy Again people out there who actually believe that they were ever going to do that, which unfortunately I did right at first, and then I quickly realized that was probably not the case. This proves that Maha is absolutely dead and buried. Trump officials plan to repeal limits on forever chemicals in drinking water. Again, this is on The Guardian. EPA outlines effort to kill Biden-era rules as critics condemn RFK Jr. and Lee Zeldin's hocus pocus. Lee Zeldin, RFK Jr. The two people behind this, apparently. The Trump administration has announced a plan to kill Biden-era drinking water limits on 4 PFAs, forever chemicals, and to delay the implementation of standards for 2 other compounds. The EPA, I call them the Environmental Pollution Agency, is proposing 2 separate rules to delay and rescind the limits. The rules must go through an approval process that can take several years and almost certainly will be challenged in court. The Trump administration's plan comes in just 2 years after the U.S. EPA set legally enforceable drinking water limits for 6 of the most dangerous PFAS compounds that have been studied. So they set limits for it. They said you can only have so much. The chemicals include some of the most toxic substances and are linked to a range of cancers and other serious health problems. The new Trump plan aims to undo or delay those limits, which public health advocates say would put the nation's health at risk. I think that's the whole point, don't you? PFAS are ubiquitous in the environment and estimated to be contaminating drinking water for more than 200 million people across the U.S. At the Monday press conference, the EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin and U.S. Health Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. announced a new plan. The Trump EPA is committed to make America healthy again by ensuring clean air, land, and water. This is all gaslighting. And by taking on PFAS the right way across the full life cycle and built to last, Zeldin said in a statement. PFAS are a class of at least 16,000 compounds, most frequently used to make products water, stain, and grease resistant. They have been linked to cancer, birth defects, decreased immunity, high cholesterol, kidney disease, and a range of other serious health problems. Are dubbed forever chemicals because they do not naturally break down in the environment. Public health advocates in 2024 hailed historic limits that would dramatically improve the safety of the nation's water, and the rules marked for the first time in 27 years. The EPA had put in place new drinking water limits for contaminants. But the move was fiercely opposed by industry, including those in new leadership positions in the EPA, meaning the people Trump put in. Zeldin and Kennedy are trying to sell portions out of the back of a covered wagon. There you go. The director of PFAS advocacy at Natural Resources Defense Council said, the millions of Americans demanding safe drinking water are not going to fall for their hocus pocus. The move is widely viewed as at odds with Donald Trump's pledge to eliminate toxic chemicals from drinking water. Kennedy is a leader in the MAHA movement, of which eliminating toxic chemicals from food and water is a cornerstone. MAHA and MAGA have been at odds over the last year as the administration fails to follow through on many of its promises. Pretty much all of them, if you ask me. Kennedy defended the delay and rescission of the limits at the press conference. So, not good. Not good at all. But yes, MAHA is dead. They're fighting for the worst possible chemicals, saying that we don't get to have them removed from water. They must stay in. Okay, so this was the follow-up here on the whole Massey story. I mentioned earlier that he does have some plans for the next few months, apparently, that he will be in Congress. Says, watch, Thomas Massey vows to read redacted names in the Epstein files on the House floor before leaving Congress. Says Todd Blanche and Kash Patel perjured themselves, which, of course, they did that routinely. We proved on this show that Kash Patel did the day after it happened. As soon as he gave his testimony when he was trying to become the head of the FBI, he stated that he had no idea who Stu Peters was. You guys remember that? No idea who Stu Peters was. Never heard of him before. He'd said that under oath. And, of course, he had been a guest on Stu Peters' show 8 times at least. So clearly perjured himself. And Thomas Massey's exactly right. Todd Blanche, I don't know what he said, but wouldn't surprise me one bit. They all are cut from the same cloth. So the main thing really here with this article was that it's concerning is that he's announcing that he plans to read the names of Epstein's clients on the House floor before he leaves Congress in January 2027. That is super dangerous. Don't announce what you're going to do. Just do it. Don't announce it. That gets you killed. So, something to watch out for. If something happens to Massey, we will know exactly the reason why.
There is a fear in your generation that the future has already been written, that the machines are coming, that the jobs are evaporating, that the climate is breaking, that politics is fractured, and that you are inheriting a mess that you did not create. The question is not whether AI will shape the world. It will. The question is whether you will help shape artificial intelligence. We do not know. We do not know the precise contours of what this transformation will look like. But what we do know is it will require each of us to adapt in ways that we cannot yet anticipate.
The rise of artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution.
Data centers are devouring American homes in a brazen land grab fueled by the technocracy's AI boom, and everyday families are paying the ultimate price.
Imagine you work for a $2 billion company and you roll up to work one morning and you find out that your 401k contribution will no longer be matched by the company because they are interested in putting that measly amount for their employees, that little itty bit for a $2 billion company, into AI research, AI processes in the name of efficiency. And then you read what your company's spokespeople say and they go, this is actually a positive signal in the labor market. This is good. This is an investment back in our people for their long-term future.
Across the United States, utility giants and big tech allies are wielding eminent domain like a club, bulldozing generational properties under the guise of progress and energy needs. Sold as innovation, now revealing itself as a ruthless corporate takeover, where your backyard, your farm, or your childhood home becomes collateral damage for server farms that guzzle power like there's no tomorrow. This assault is hitting hard in states like Georgia, where Georgia Power is targeting families in Coweta County to clear paths for massive transmission lines, supporting a $17 billion data center project in neighboring Fayette County.
Although nobody in this town wants a damn data center, our commissioners still approved it. So therefore, Georgia Power is using easement rights to force homeowners, longtime homeowners, old homeowners, into selling their family properties and their family homes so they can be torn down and power lines be extended to support these data centers.
Similar nightmares are unfolding in Pennsylvania, where rural families like Brenda Rizzo's 101-acre farm stare down 240-foot towers for AI data centers. Nationwide, the scale is staggering. Nearly 3,000 new data centers under construction or proposed, piling onto thousands already operating, with rural America bearing the brunt.
Construction is either in final planning or even in progress in a ton of not-so-remote areas. Forget the ones that are already built already. There's thousands of them all over the country. But you have Phoenix, Arizona, Atlanta, Georgia. Actually, that's becoming like one of the biggest major hubs with dozens more planned. Columbus, Ohio, Reno, Nevada, Quincy, Washington, El Paso, Texas, Santa Teresa, New Mexico, Imperial County, California, Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, Kansas City, Missouri, and one of the biggest ones, Salt Lake City. They want to build one there that is twice the size of Manhattan. Now, despite residents vehemently opposing this, like they went to the town hall meeting and they were like, no, everybody was like, no. Somehow, it was unanimously approved by the Box Elder County Commission.
For hell's sake, grow up.
These hyperscale behemoths demand insane portions of electricity and land. Wake up, America. Your deed means nothing when the New World Order grid demands it. John Bound reporting for the Alex Jones Network.
Yeah, welcome back. How about that? That was quite the report. And yeah, these town councils, city councils, I don't know. I mean, I don't think just voting them out is even enough. They need to be run out of town on a rail because clearly they're getting some sort of, paybacks, under the table money of some sort. Who knows what? But that's why they're going through so unanimously. I mean, it's kind of obvious, really, at this point. So, yeah, all that to say that these things keep getting approved and they keep getting built. And, yeah, they're listening to people, but they just do it anyway because the decision's already been made. They're not asking for your approval. They're warning you, telling you that it's coming and you have no recourse. That's what's going on. I saw a map fairly recently of the United States that showed how many data centers there currently are, or in some cases under construction as well, how many are planned for certain states. There were 60 just in Tennessee, 430 some in Texas. So get ready. It's coming. And It is, yes, part of the BEAST system, but I had no idea that part of the BEAST system build-out would also mean no water, no electricity, stuff like that. So that apparently is where it's headed. Anyway, yeah, just to kind of take a step back here, the whole deal with Thomas Massie, I wish he would just do it and not talk about it. It's super dangerous. And, just announcing what he's going to do, reading the redacted names on the floor of the House. Should he do it? Yeah, absolutely. He should do it, but he should just go do it. So that was my little bit of advice to him. It's too dangerous to just announce it because that's a good way to get killed. Yeah. Just ask Charlie. All right, let's keep moving here. We've got another Gateway Pundit article. Famous NASCAR driver Kyle Busch died of officially severe pneumonia leading to sepsis. He was 41, so I wasn't really necessarily following NASCAR, but it is interesting, and there were some people saying that he took the VAXX and stuff. Wow, that thing's creepy. He took the VAXX and stuff like that, and I have no idea if he did or not. Hopefully he didn't, but, it is the gift that keeps on giving, isn't it? NASCAR legend Kyle Busch died of severe pneumonia leading to sepsis, according to his family. I don't see how he would have had pneumonia, though, because he was in the middle of a racing simulation, and he recently won, like in the last couple of weeks, won a race. So it's not like he was bedridden or anything. Yeah, you can have walking pneumonia, but I don't know. It just seems really strange to me. The medical evaluation provided to the Busch family concluded that severe pneumonia progressed into sepsis. That does happen. We had a family friend that happened with, resulting in rapid and overwhelming associated complications. Yeah, he was apparently coughing up blood and stuff, so that's not good. But yeah, 41. Looking to see where it says here on Thursday afternoon. NASCAR announced Kyle Busch had passed away. According to the Associated Press, Kyle Busch was found unresponsive in a racing simulator in Concord, North Carolina. Yeah, he was coughing up blood the day before. So sad. Anyway, I don't know whether or not it had anything to do with the CV19 jabbies. He is in the right age group for sure for people dropping dead, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit, but still, we don't know for sure. But we do kind of need to assume at this point that those types of deaths are related somehow, because they do seem to be. All right. And then this one, a little bit of a follow-up, I guess. Remember this story from last year. Brother of stabbing victim, Austin Metcalf, this guy, receives standing ovation at graduation as he accepts posthumous diploma for his twin. So yeah, if you forgot, this guy that was stabbed by this guy, and then after this guy stabbed this guy and killed him, this guy proceeded to raise $1 million or more in gifts and donations. Hunter Metcalf received a standing ovation at his high school graduation at Memorial High School in Frisco, Texas, as he accepted a posthumous diploma for his twin brother, Austin. As the Gateway Pundit previously reported, 16-year-old track and football star Austin Metcalf was brutally stabbed to death in April 2025. It's been just over a year. During a championship track meet in Frisco, Texas, Metcalf, a junior at Frisco Memorial High School, was attacked in broad daylight at a school-sanctioned event meant to showcase hard work, discipline, and sportsmanship. Austin Metcalf died in his twin brother Hunter in his twin brother Hunter's arms. The suspect, now 18-year-old Carmelo Anthony, this guy, of rival school Frisco Centennial, was charged with Frisco Centennial, that's the rival school, was charged with first-degree murder and faces between 5 and 99 years in prison. Tell me, which number do you suppose he'll get? Between 5 and 99 years. Well, he has the right skin color. So my guess is he might see double digits, perhaps. Last year, a judge reduced Carmelo Anthony's bond from $1 million to $250,000 and placed him on house arrest. Carmelo Anthony's family attorney previously asked the judge to put the teen killer on an ankle monitor and reduce his bond so he can be with his family. Yeah, just like Austin Metcalf could be with... Oh, wait. Yeah, the crooked judge granted the family's request and later imposed a gag order on the Metcalf family. So see, you're white, you get gagged, you lose your son to being murdered, and you deserve it. I forgot to add that part. You deserve it. Yeah, so let's look at this one. Speaking of all this, I saw this as well. So we're going to skip over to this one for just a second here. Yeah, so this is a connected story, kind of. Again, this is the murderer of Austin Metcalf, and his bail was dropped from $1.25 million to $250,000 for bail, right? Well, this guy right here was recently jailed here in Tennessee for... Now, he's not innocent in that he was using the N-word, I guess, and another black guy attacked him. And so they got in a fight, and a gun was pulled. I think it was his gun. He pulled it, and they both got shot. Grazed or shot or something. I don't know. Anyways, so it's an interesting story. Nobody got killed, though. All right? In this story, he killed Austin Metcalf with a knife. He had a $250,000 bail. This guy... No one was killed, and yet his bail was $1.25 million. He defended himself. No one was killed. $1.25 million bail. Stabbed Austin Metcalf, and Metcalf died at the scene. $250,000 bail. Now, they did reduce this guy. This guy's name is, he goes by Chud the Builder. That's his online persona, right? So Chud the Builder in Tennessee, his bail was reduced from $1.25 million to $1 million. So the judge knocked it down to $1 million. And again, 4 times what this guy's bail was. And this guy murdered someone. This guy did not. No one died. So yeah, how about that? I guess we're supposed to expect that, aren't we? So anyway, not good. But anyways, I wanted to mention that about the posthumous diploma being awarded to Austin Metcalf, accepted by his brother. So, got some Substacks. So, digital ID. Trump quietly signs executive order to strengthen customer identification requirements for banks to allow the Federal Reserve to create tokenized master account. So, this is on Winepress's Substack, right? It is the policy of my administration to restore integrity to America's financial system, safeguard financial institutions against structural risks, and deter fraud and abuse. That was the quote here. Trump this week signed a pair of executive orders that received seldom attention, but are nonetheless key to this administration's ambition to modernize the American financial system. These executive orders aim to add further biometric protocols to the banking system to prove one's identity, while also creating an easier pathway for the Fed to partner with fintechs, in other words, financial technology companies, to directly clear and settle payments on the Fed's system, also known as a master skinny account. These executive orders build on previous orders Trump signed last year to help modernize Treasury and American economy, such as payment rails at the Treasury, to eliminate cash and check payments, and especially the Genius Act that provides legal framework for digital dollars in the form of stablecoins. Digital ID. More recently, we talked about digital ID last week, remember? King Charles, KC3, said digital ID is coming. And he is the soon-to-be biblical Antichrist, so I tend to believe him. More recently, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent revealed several times this year that Trump was preparing an executive order that would force Americans to hand over their passports or provide additional biometric data to hold a bank account, claiming this was to cut down on illegal fraud and prove who is a naturalized citizen, the wine press detailed earlier this month, and there's a link to that article. Bessa and others familiar with the early drafts reveal that Real ID is not enough to prove legal citizenship in the eyes of this administration. So a government-issued document like a Real ID driver's license is not good enough for another government connection, meaning through a bank. So you can't use the government ID that you got, that they forced you to get, because there's nothing better with opening a bank account because it's not good enough. That's the way I understand it. In April, Bessent revealed plans for this executive order at the Semaphore World Economy, but did not provide too many details. So then there's some back and forth here about it a little bit. Executive order that they're saying restores integrity to America's financial system. Designed to protect America's financial system from illicit activity, strengthen customer identification requirements for financial institutions, and address the credit risks posed by extending financial services to non-work authorized illegal aliens. Yeah, so they couch it in, we're doing all these good things to help support MAGA, essentially, is kind of what that's talking about the illegals, and then yet it's going to punish everybody, just like they did with the Patriot Act. It goes into the Fed skinny accounts and some of the other information here about that. So there's all of this. There's quite a bit here. Again, Wine Press, Substack post. And then this one also was another really weird one from this week. Did you guys see this? Another Wine Press Substack post. Fox News wants to remind you that they and the rest of the media are staged. I find it hard to believe that this was an accident. And you can see this circle here in this spot on this guy's throat. And that is because this guy was clearly wearing a mask. The slaps are getting sloppier and sloppier these days. And perhaps that is by design. I don't know. But here is Fox News staging another one of their daily interviews calling for endless war with this retired Robert Harward, former deputy commander of U.S. Central Command. Look closely at his neckline. So you can see it right here, zoomed in. Hey, buddy, your mask is showing. You can see the edge of it right here and the shadow. There's clearly pink skin underneath this mask. This is a mask. This is what he's supposed to look like. This is the guy for real. See his neck. See? This is the guy with the mask. It doesn't even look like the same guy. But it's supposed to be. So what happened to this guy? It says, David Nino Rodriguez posted this on X. Folks, I mean this in the least conspiratorial way possible. Does anybody know why this man is wearing what looks like a mask? Why do we think it's this man? I mean, that's a huge assumption. I would say this is somebody pretending to be this man. I almost find it hard to believe that this was an accident. They know that they can say anything that they want to. Fox's blind, captivated, institutionalized audience that plays armchair quarterback each and every day from their lazy boy recliners gobbles up this nonsense. Don't forget that the CIA has already disclosed that they have had and used hyper-realistic masks for years. If they really wanted to try and trick someone, they would have done much better than this Robert Harward guy. Yeah, and here's some videos of how they've used these masks before and how realistic they look. Way too real, it says. It's all fake and gay. Nothing, absolutely nothing in the media, nothing that comes across the screen can be trusted. Yeah, that's the truth. Unless you're watching this show, you can trust this show. Now, do I make mistakes? Probably, here and there, but not on purpose. And you'll never catch me wearing a rubber mask, that's for darn sure. All right, this next one here is on AJ's news site. This is a former Navy SEAL appeals appears to wear rubber mask in Fox News interview. Again, more of the same. But this particular article has more information on it. And this is the weirdest Shiite I've ever seen. WTF. Yeah, let's see if we can actually play a little clip here.
In the eyes of the Iranian people, but
see, it doesn't even move.
Global economy,
Clearly a mask.
which they're holding all hostage to. The more everybody comes to realize this is all about the IRGC.
It just looks as
at the end
fake
of the
and gay
day,
as
we're
possible.
going to have to need a government in Iran that not only hands over the nuclear
What you could do though is
stops
what you could do is find the guy's real guy and listen to his voice and see if it sounds anywhere similar at all to this. My guess is it probably would be similar, but not the same. Anyway, yeah, so further information here on AJ's site. Ex-Navy SEAL appears to wear rubber mask in Fox News interview. I don't think it's him, though. I think it's somebody else pretending to be him. I think that's a huge assumption, assuming that it's... Why would the guy wear a rubber mask of himself? That doesn't make sense. Sorry. All right, here's another Wine Press Substack. This one... I know for sure is real, so this one is something to watch out for, especially if you happen to ever use that search engine called Google. You probably heard of it. Dumbing down Google search to prioritize AI-generated search results over articles written by humans. YouTube allows creators to insert themselves into other channels' videos with AI. So... and these are actually things that they've announced, by the way. This is true. They removed Googling from Google. It's a chat bot now. Google tells you what to think, as the search does not provide links, meaning small businesses and independent websites will get buried. So Google is taking the search away from search. Google this week announced a substantial change to its search engine, revealing it will prioritize AI-generated search results versus organically written articles and websites, potentially dealing a massive blow to local and small businesses, along with independent content creators and journalists. Yeah, so this is the actual blog post from Google. This is what they describe they're doing. However, Google's glossy update explanation does not provide the full details as to what these changes entail. TechCrunch revealed that Google will not provide the links to the sources in the search query. The tech outlet wrote at its Google I/O conference on Tuesday. Google unveiled an AI-powered overhaul of search centered around a reimagined intelligent search box, what the company describes as the biggest change to this entry point to the web since search box debuted more than 25 years ago. Instead of returning a simple list of links, Google Search will drop users into AI-powered interactive experiences at times. Google is also introducing tools that can dispatch information agents to gather information on a user's behalf, along with tools that let users build personalized mini apps tailored to their needs. So for all of you app developers out there, you can bet that you might be out of a job because people will be able to do it on their own. The resulting experience will no longer look much like how people envision Google search, which has long been defined by ranked lines to websites that have information that you need. Google's also introducing agentic capabilities and AI-powered interactive features into this search experience. This means people will spend even less time clicking the traditional blue links that Google search used to return. So this is all really bad news for independent content creators. It's all going to point, if it's AI giving you the results of your question or your query, it's just going to promote and push the big companies like just Amazon or just, Target and Best Buy or whatever. You know what I mean? It won't necessarily let you find those other smaller companies and local businesses. This shift means that searching the web will increasingly be performed by AI agents rather than humans. Instead, people will focus more on acting on the information that those agents provide instead of manually clicking links links will become an afterthought with the coming changes to the search results experience, which builds on Google's earlier launches of AI search features, like its short summaries known as AI overviews and its conversational search called AI mode. Yeah, and this is a post here from somebody on YouTube called What Were They Thinking? Google just made one of its worst decisions yet. Here's a video about it. Now, if that wasn't enough, on top of that, Google has also announced at their I/O conference that YouTube will allow, remember, Google owns YouTube. YouTube will allow content creators to essentially steal other channels' content and insert themselves in videos with the power of AI. This new feature is called Remix and is a feature that will be added to YouTube Shorts, utilizing the power of Google's Gemini to transform videos with just a couple of taps and some text prompts. So that's the next thing they're going to do. And I'll show you, here's an example of this. I don't think this is quite as sinister as it sounds. Like it sounds, the way they've described it in this article sounds worse than it actually is, I think. But you might be able to use it in some really bad ways. I don't know. I haven't really thought this one through. But here's a video that they're showing here. And note that it's, just some people walking across the screen and dancing. And then the thing says to replace the brunette woman and then replace it with a guy with a big head, replace both with a big head. So you can see how, you've taken a video and you're altering it. Now you're adding people in the background. It all looks very real, doesn't it? Now they're in pirate costumes. But apparently at this point, it's only going to work on YouTube Shorts, which are super short videos. I don't remember how long, maybe 90 seconds or something like that. Pretty short videos on YouTube and like little clips. And you can insert yourself using AI or insert something different into someone else's video. So that is bad, but I don't think that's quite as bad as what they're getting ready to do with Google Search. So I know many of you guys don't already use Google. Many of you guys use something different. But just know that most of the world, at least most of the U.S., does use Google. So that is pretty concerning because people don't like to change. They don't like to change at all. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I don't think that's good. All right, this one's from Leo Hohmann's Substack. Globalist financial guru and Trump ally Larry the Fink, as I call him, is scared to death that Americans will wake up, rise up, and start sabotaging AI data centers. And don't worry, I'm not putting it out there that people should sabotage AI data centers. I'm not saying that at all, so don't read that into this article. I'm just sort of joking. Americans are starting to wake up to the fact that thousands of AI data centers are being built across all 50 states. And they're not just for the purpose of competing with China for industrial and military supremacy, as President Trump has told his big tech cohorts, and as they all keep saying. Very true, very true. As myself and others have been reporting, this is, again, Leo Hohmann. The bigger picture is to create enough AI computing power to implement a surveillance state, a 24/7 control grid, similar to what they have in China, to keep people in line and under the thumb of their oppressors. This control grid will include a biometric digital ID for every citizen, along with digital programmable stablecoins or some other version of digital currency to eventually replace the dying U.S. fiat currency system. All human movement and all financial transactions, no matter how big or small, will be tracked in real time. Free speech will continue to be phased out of existence once people realize that saying, writing, or posting facts or commentary outside of the mainstream will get your bank account turned off and your digital money restricted. I would say, or deleted. This is also, in my opinion, why the government is expanding federal prison space at breakneck speed. Won't go into all that right now. But anyway, yeah, he goes into it and says, Larry the Fink, the CEO of the mega financial investment capital firm BlackRock, who's co-chairs of the World Economic Forum, admitted in a recent interview that he is concerned that ordinary Americans will use inexpensive drones to attack and destroy billion-dollar AI data centers. Wouldn't that be terrible? Jimmy Dore put out a segment on his recent show sees that proof that the ruling class knows a popular revolt is coming and is preparing for it. Yeah, they'll probably have drones that take out other drones or anything else that flies near it. Of course, those things are huge. The one being proposed in Utah is literally like 5 miles wide by 5 miles long. Yeah, just huge. It says that he noted that Trump allocated $80 billion for new prison space while making it illegal for local governments to regulate AI data centers. Wow. Jimmy Dore believes that the expanded array of federal prisons are not for immigrants, as advertised, but for Americans who rise up against the surveillance state and mass job displacement caused by AI. That could be these data centers that they're building, in my opinion. One thing, they don't need that many data centers to track everyone in the United States. That's not, I mean, yeah, that they do want to do that. But keep in mind with the introduction of 6G, which is coming very soon, and they're going to have everything tokenized, like literally down to everything in nature will be tokenized, down to blades of grass will have basically an IP address. I mean, everything will be part of the system. That, when you're looking at the granularity of that and the amount of data that would generate, edge computing as it's called, it seems to me like at that point you would need data centers at that level to be able to do the math for everything in the entire world. It's not just people, but for everything. Every living thing and possibly every non-living thing too. I don't know. Whatever they can digitize and be on the system. And then, you know, what Mike Adams talks about as well with the modeling, the world modeling and stuff, where they can grow things digitally in the computer over an accelerated timeline, and then that way they can really, you know, make things happen even faster. So yeah, you do need some serious computing power to do that. So it's way beyond surveillance is all I'm saying. So that's kind of what this one's alluding to on this Substack post from Leo. And then here's a Wise Wolf Substack. Yeah, this is something that came out, I guess, this is dated today, but this happened a few days ago. Did Elon Musk just declare war on God by promising to turn humans into cybernetic Jesus? A madman whose grandfather was funded by Nazi occultists just promised you Jesus Christ's miracles through brain chips, and nobody thinks it odd but me. Meaning the guy that wrote this on Wise Wolf, I guess. Musk just used the name of Jesus Christ to sell brain implants. Not as inspiration, not metaphorically. He looked into a camera at a technology summit and said, drilling a hole in your skull and plugging electrodes into your brain performs Jesus-level miracles, quote unquote. A billionaire just told the world his technology can make you like Christ. And he did it using the Son of God's actual name as a marketing pitch. So this is where we are now. Breaking news that proves we are living in the end times. May 18th is when this happened. Samson International Smart Mobility Summit in Tel Aviv. So it all starts in Israel. Elon Musk speaking at 2 a.m. Texas time. His exact words were, restoring control of people who are tetraplegics and restoring sight are pretty big deals. They're sort of what I might call Jesus-level technologies. The interviewer said miracles, and Elon agreed instantly. Miracles, yes, exactly. Jesus-level technologies, miracles. This man just positioned his company's brain chips as equivalent to the works of the Son of God. Then he went further. His blind sight product will not just restore normal vision, it will give people superhuman vision. Better than what God designed. Better than what Christ restored when he healed the blind. An upgrade to the Creator's work. This is what they're claiming. And by 2030, they are putting these chips in healthy people, not paralyzed, not blind, Healthy humans who want to transcend what God created them to be. You will be like God. Genesis 3:5. There it is. This is the serpent's lie from Eden packaged as consumer technology. Genesis 3:5. You will be like God. That was the pitch in the Garden of Eden. Eat the fruit, transcend your limits, become divine. Eve fell for it. Every human sense has inherited that curse. 6,000 years later, a man whose grandfather worked with Nazi occultists is making that same offer. You will be like God. You will perform miracles. You will have superhuman powers. Just let me drill into your forehead and merge your brain with AI. No thanks. That's just me adding that little part there. No thank you. This is not hidden. This is not symbolic. Elon Musk stood on a stage and used Jesus Christ's name to sell technology that merges humans with artificial intelligence controlled from data centers, tech billionaires named Stratos, Hyperion, Prometheus, and Baccara after demons and pagan gods that Scripture warns about. He's telling you exactly what he's building, the false signs and wonders from Revelation, and almost nobody is calling it out. You need to understand what system these brain chips plug into. Neuralink does not operate in isolation. It merges your consciousness with artificial intelligence. That AI runs from massive data centers, and tech billionaires are building those facilities right now with names that should make every Christian's blood run cold. Stratos, Greek for demon army ruler. A data center named after the commander of demon legions, Stratos. Another one, Hyperion, the watchers from the book of Enoch, fallen angels who came to earth, mated with human women, created the Nephilim hybrids, and corrupted creation so thoroughly God sent a flood to wipe them out. That one was Hyperion. Prometheus, the titan who stole fire from the gods, was punished for eternity. Greek mythology's version of Lucifer, bringing forbidden knowledge to humanity. Baccara, named after the card game that 16th century demonologist Jonathan Weyer said was overseen by Asmodeus, the banker of the Baccarat table in hell. Asmodeus, one of the 7 princes of hell, the demon of lust. Wow. So yeah, that's what they're naming these data centers. Stratos, Hyperion, Prometheus, Baccara. Each facility required 9 nuclear power plants to operate. There are hundreds of these facilities being planned right now, thousands by 2040. Do the math. Even just 100 facilities means 900 nuclear power plants. There are only 440 nuclear power plants operating in the entire world right now. They are planning to build more nuclear capacity for demon-named AI data centers than currently exists on planet Earth to coordinate millions of autonomous robots and process the thoughts of billions of brain-chipped humans merged with AI. Yeah, and then like I said as well, all of the everything in the entire world will be tokenized and globalized and digitized as well. Every blade of grass, essentially. So yeah, of course they need all these systems to be able to run that world that they're building for us. Or for them, actually. That's where we're headed. It is not good. This is the system Elon wants to plug your brain into. Thousands of data centers named after demons, requiring more electrical power than all current nuclear plants on Earth combined, controlling AI that Elon himself said was summoning the demon. And he just told you it performs Jesus-level miracles. So anyway, there's more here. It goes on. Talking about his grandfather and the connections to the Third Reich and so forth and so on. Pretty good article. This one's on the Wise Wolf. All right, and then this one, we were talking about RFK Jr. earlier, and this is his company, his organization's website. But this one I thought was worth mentioning. This story, Children's Health Defense, breaking. Federal court strikes down landmark fluoride ruling on technicality, not the science. Citing a procedural question, a federal appeals court has vacated a landmark decision that found fluoridated drinking water poses an unreasonable risk to children's health. The court sent the case back to the district judge and ordered him to ignore any scientific evidence uncovered after 2020. How about that? Attorney Michael Connett told the Defender, this website, the court instructed the judge to travel back in time to 2020 and make this ruling based on a stale factual record. Yes, ignore all the science, ignore what we found out since then, and go off of old information, basically. A federal appeals court has vacated a landmark decision that found fluoridated drinking water poses an unreasonable risk to children's health under the Toxic Substances Control Act. The decision by the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals did not challenge the substance of the lower court's findings that fluoride is toxic to children, everyone really, and ought to be regulated. Instead, the court based its decision on procedural issues related to the lower court's handling of the litigation. The case will now go back to the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California, where District Judge Edward Chen will be required to exclude all scientific evidence that became available after 2020. Michael Connett, attorney for the plaintiffs, told the Defender, this website, the court instructed Judge Chen to travel back in time to 2020 and make this ruling based on a stale factual record. Connett said the directive to ignore years' worth of evidence on fluoride's dangers runs counter to the intent of the TSCA, which is to protect hundreds of millions of Americans from substances that are harmful to human health. The federal appeals court ruling handed down late Thursday stemmed from a lawsuit against the U.S. EPA brought by consumer advocacy groups, including Food and Water Watch and the Fluoride Action Network, FAN, and also Moms Against Fluoridation. Yeah, I've mentioned this site before, Fluoride Alert. Really good information on fluoride. We had the guy who started this on Lost Arts Radio, Dr. Paul Connett, which is the last article we were just reading was talking about Michael Connett. I think that's probably his son. But yeah, this site's been around a while. Really good one on fluoride. But yeah, they want the judge to travel back in time to 2020 and ignore any of the new information that there is on fluoride and just go off of the old. That makes sense, doesn't it? So yeah, this is a good site though, fluoridealert.org, if you need information about fluoride and how wonderful it is and how super toxic it is. Yeah. But yes, Maha is dead, for sure. All right, we mentioned Charlie a couple times tonight, just briefly. This has come out this week. Video, Charlie Kirk crime scene cleanup operation confirmed. This guy right here was a contractor hired to dig out and pave over Charlie Kirk's assassination scene. Reveals FBI and governor ordered immediate excavation. Charlie Kirk crime scene cleanup operation confirmed. Contractor hired to dig out and pave over Charlie Kirk's assassination scene reveals FBI and governor ordered immediate excavation.
Why do you think they excavated so much dirt? You think that they were trying to make sure they got any bullet fragments or anything that was in there?
I wasn't looking at it with that lens, dude.
Really?
I wasn't.
It didn't even cross your mind?
It didn't cross my mind. Here's the thing. You were saying stuff on social media. Everybody's saying stuff on social media. Yeah. And quite frankly, I got so disheartened with social media because they just spin everything and they talk and fear mongering and hate sells. And I didn't want to see it. I knew there was videos out there right when I pulled into town when it happened. I Googled it and I saw the video from afar, right, of Charlie getting shot. And I thought, man, I don't want to see that shit. This guy got shot. You see it, you know he's probably dead or dying, right? I don't want to see somebody murdered, especially a good man, a father and a husband. So I hadn't been on social media. I had stayed away from it. My wife had been on it, and she was a wreck, bro. She was just, all that ugliness was just. So when I got the call, I thought, you better believe it. I'm going to go help. That was all it was. I'm going to go help these guys. He's asking for help. They want to do it right. He framed it in the sense that, hey, we want this to be done right. So that's why I showed up. So, I mean, to do pavers correctly, you over excavate. You get rid of the top soil.
Oh, you do?
You do, 100%. Okay. You want to get a good base. And these guys had kind of, there was two guys in charge and a ragtag crew. One of the guys was in charge of a state-owned facility in American Fork, and the other guy was in a maintenance groundskeeper on a facility in Provo. And these are the two guys I'm corresponding with. The first guy, the second guy that I hadn't talked to on the phone basically said, hey, look, we're not talking to anybody. We're not saying anything to the media. He says this is above our pay grade. The FBI and the state, the governor and the FBI, that's what they told me. The governor and the FBI said they want this done by Monday, and we need to get it done.
Hurry up and dig this out and get all this. No one, get rid of the crime scene right now. Hurry, dig it out, dig it out.
Yeah, that kind of sums it up. Yeah, get rid of it. That's exactly right. So I think that contractor guy meant well, but yeah, he was clearly used by the governor and the FBI. So of course it was a cover up, but this guy confirms that. So yes, as Miss Emily says, So this full video is a 17-minute piece, so it's probably Alex as well, I'm sure, but I didn't watch the whole thing. But yeah, that's very interesting. So yes, more information is coming out little by little on the whole Kirk assassination thing, and hopefully all that will be coming out because everyone needs to know what happened and who was involved. Okay, then this one. Watch. Rep. Tim Burchett calls out GOP for cutting backroom deal with the Dems for giving up majority power. So I pulled up this article just because, we've all known for a while, I think, that they're all in it together, and they are, you could say, two sides of the same coin, two wings of the same bird, whatever, Democrats, Republicans. I think this helps to solidify that idea even more. Congressman Tim Burchett blasted his colleagues following a House committee meeting on Thursday, criticizing the GOP for handing Democrats a political victory. That's what they do. So he says, I just left the committee. We had some amendments that were cutting regulations, things that we as Republicans should do because of backroom deals. They were cut. They won't allow any amendments on the bill because one Democrat didn't agree to it. So the Republicans don't like being in charge, apparently. They want the Democrats to be in charge, and they're handing the power to them. That's what it sounds like to me. He continued, I'll guarantee you when the Democrats are in the majority, which they very much could be because of this kind of garbage, which I think so too. If we're going to be in the majority, you all have extended us an incredible gift, and we're going to blow it because we're not acting like we are in the majority. Explaining the bill dealt with bridges and things that are not sexy but still matter, Burchett said. We, the GOP, allow the Democrats to tell us what to do. It's just unbelievable. At some point, we're going to have to get some guts. This town is crooked as a dog's leg. Well, a dog's back leg, actually. And I'm disgusted, he said. So thank you all for sending me here. I'm really glad you sent me here. This kind of stuff I want to fight, and I'll let them have it. Tim Burchett says. Which he will, but he won't be around for forever. You know what I mean? But it just goes to show you that does voting really matter? They just give up their power to the Dems. Republican Party is nothing more than a cult of Trump. This is on Reason.com. The GOP has shifted from endorsing conservative ideas to embodying the whims of one man. It's so true. Republican Party is dead. Long live the party of Trump, which wears the GOP like a skin suit. On Tuesday, Trump took down libertarian-leaning Thomas Massie, to whom he'd taken such a profound dislike that he backed a primary challenger in the form of MAGA stalwart Ed Galrain. Massie was highly, I would say that it's not even, it's Trump, but it's mostly Israel. Massey was highly ranked for his voting record by conservative organizations, but so were the other candidates Trump pushed out of office and out of the party. In truth, it's been years since the Republican Party was a conservative organization. These days, it's a cult of personality around the president. Trump turns on unreliable members of his own party. Yeah. And I've heard now that he's going after some of the other ones, some of the other people that were supporting Massey. I was looking to see if there's anything else here. But yeah, I mean, it's a cult of personality for sure. There's a lot of truth to that. All right, and then this one, I thought I would bring this up just because, it's just more wokeism. This is what Hollywood is constantly churning out. Supergirl actress makes fun of Christian dads for criticizing her. If you're PISSing off the right kind of people, you're doing okay. Meaning Christian dads. So if she's making you angry, she's really happy about that, I guess. I already wasn't going to watch your lame girl boss movie. You didn't need to sell it to me. Supergirl actress mocks critics, says a lot of them are Christian dads. So this is the fake AI picture of her. This is the real her. The Supergirl star Millie Alcock, what a name, or Alcock maybe, pushed back against online critics ahead of the film's release, saying many of the people criticizing her past comments are anonymous burner accounts and profiles identifying themselves as dad of four or Christian, which she really hates. So all that to say, she's going to go real far in Hollywood. Mark my words. She's already got this lead role here, so we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I guess Christian dads won't take their daughters to watch Supergirl then. Exactly. I'm a Christian dad. I guess she's saying this movie isn't for me. Well, I wasn't going to pay to see it in the theater. Now I'm not going to bother renting it when it streams 2 to 3 weeks later. Yeah, exactly. Because it's going to be bad. I mean, it has to be. Supergirl and woke, for sure. Yes. Anyways, I did happen to see the trailer for this film when I was at the movie earlier in the week with my wonderful wife and daughter. We went to see the brand new, it's been out a couple weeks, I guess, the new movie about Michael Jackson. And I didn't pull anything up on that. I guess I could have. But yeah, the new Michael Jackson movie. And I was really impressed by how well the guy who played Michael did. He was apparently the guy that played Michael is a nephew of Michael's. So he's actually family. And man, he had Michael down really, really well. I mean, you almost could not tell the difference. And one of the reasons I wanted to see the Michael movie was I have been a Michael fan for a long time, but I actually got to meet him and work around him and his team back in my Ocean Way studio days back in the early 90s when he was recording his album called Dangerous. And so he did Thriller, and then he did Bad, and then he did Dangerous. So this was, that one that came out in about 91 or 2, I guess, 92 probably. And I was working at the studio at the time, and he would come in all bandaged up from having plastic surgeries and stuff. And so I was around him a little bit, got to talk to him just a little, and mostly talked more to the people that were part of his team. And he was really a good guy. I mean, he really got the press's, for whatever reason. I don't know if it was the innocence that he sort of portrayed or what, but he really got the raw deal, the bad end of the joke. It was a lot of stuff that was framed wrong, in my opinion. And a guy that I still know that used to work at the studio where I knew him really well, and he was like, "No, none of that stuff's true. The stuff about Neverland Ranch and all this stuff." So I wanted to see what the movie was like, and I wasn't disappointed. I thought the movie did really that they recreated his life, from what I could tell, pretty accurately, and I thought it was pretty neat. It was good. I would recommend it if you guys are Michael Jackson fans and like his music. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I think it was good. So, anyways, all that to say, that was our movie review for tonight. Yeah, I think it's just called Michael, but they definitely leave you hanging in that you could pretty easily see him coming out with a second part, the next volume or whatever, which may or may not be any good. I have no idea, but the first one was. It was good. It was good. All right, then this one I came across on Israel 365 and thought, I wonder what's going on. Is this related to the red heifers? And I don't think it is, but it is interesting. 13 arrested on Temple Mount as Jews attempt to sacrifice Shavuot bread offering. Israeli police arrested 13 people on Friday after they broke through security barriers and forced their way onto the Temple Mount in Jerusalem's Old City, attempting to perform the biblically mandated grain offering to mark the festival of Shavuot. The arrest came hours before the holiday began at sundown, and initial reports misidentified the ritual items as preparation for an animal sacrifice. What the group actually carried onto the holy site were 2 loaves of bread. So somebody doesn't know the difference between animals and loaves of bread, I guess. The suspects breached security and ran into the compound in an attempt to perform the ritual before being stopped by authorities. Police said no animals were present. According to the Ynet news site, the group brought loaves of chametz, leavened bread, made from freshly harvested wheat, the centerpiece of the Shavuot grain offering, or however you say it, Shavuot, I guess. So pretty weird. So interesting that people are breaking in, trying to do their own sacrifices, and of course it wasn't really sacrifices, it was simply bread in this case. But how long until they resume animal sacrificing? Because they don't really need, from what I understand, they don't really need the full temple build out to see that happening. So I don't know, I'm not sure, but anyways, thought that was kind of interesting. That's on Israel 365 News. We got one from Vaccine Impact. True believers of Jesus Christ are strangers and aliens on earth. The nation of Israel is not the promised land. Here's a graphic here. And they admitted that they were aliens and strangers on earth. Hebrews 11:13. And they admitted that they were aliens and strangers on earth. People who say such things show that they are looking for a country of their own. Hebrews 11:13 through 14. Hebrews chapter 11 in the New Testament part of the Bible is often called the faith chapter by Christians, with its long list of Old Testament heroes of the faith. This is the chapter that's supposed to define faith with verses like, now faith is being sure that we hope for and certain of what we do not see. Hebrews 11:1. And without faith it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists, and he rewards those who earnestly seek him. That's from Hebrews 11:6. But this chapter, within the context of the entire book of Hebrews, is more than just a showcase of heroes of the faith. It's the last chapter that culminates the argument that the new covenant is superior to the old covenant. The earlier chapters deal with the superiority of Jesus Christ over the Mosaic law, and also the superiority of the priesthood of Jesus Christ and how the household of God has now replaced the temple. This chapter, chapter 11, deals with the promise given to Abraham under the old covenant, and his descendants would inherit the promised land forever, believed by most Christians today to be the nation of Israel, and clearly shows that this promise had nothing at all to do with the nation of Israel, nor any other nation on earth. And of course, none of the people of faith named in this chapter were heroes at all during the time that they lived. They were outcasts in their societies. The promised land does not exist on earth. And then this is from Brian Shilhavy here. As I wrote in a recent article about the non-Jewish office of high priest that Jesus holds, Hebrews was written by Paul like a legal brief, proving that the new covenant is superior to the old covenant, and it is a masterpiece in rhetoric. The art of persuasion and debate is what rhetoric is. in ancient literature. Chapter 11 is a culmination of that argument, dealing with the promise given to Abraham about the promised land, showing that not even the Old Testament saints who lived in ancient Israel had actually entered the promised land. Here's the logic as written by Paul in the first 16 verses of Hebrews chapter 11. And then that's all written out here. Having concluded this argument, Paul now goes on to apply this truth to the Old Testament saints, showing just that what kind of lifestyle their faith produced in the rest of Hebrews chapter 11 and the chapters that follow. As you read the rest of Hebrews chapter 11 and the description of the people of faith under the Old Covenant, compare it to American Christians today who claim to live by faith as they gathered together last weekend to honor their hero in faith, Donald Trump. So anyway, there's some comparisons you can do here. The true people of faith are always the minorities because they go against the crowd and the heroes of their culture, and we suffer for it. They deceive Christians who believe Israel and the United States are special and more privileged than other nations because they are the chosen ones, and then flock to places like Washington, D.C. to worship with millions of others who believe like they do. Are not people living by faith in Jesus Christ, enduring the suffering of this world, which Jesus also suffered, until we enter our real promised land. No, these believers who worship their heroes have faith in this world, and the leaders of this world who all serve Satan. Amen and amen. Thought that was good. That's on vaccineimpact.com. Has absolutely nothing to do with vaccines, but they do put out some really good, thoughtful commentary, and that is, I think, one of those articles. So did you know there was a 6.0 earthquake on Hawaii Island? This is on Hawaii News Now. Magnitude 6.0 earthquake on Hawaii Island shakes the state. No tsunami. Yeah, it's a little too small for tsunami generating, I think, but 9:46 p.m. Western flank of Mauna Loa. No tsunamis expected following magnitude 6.0 earthquake that occurred about 7 miles to the east-southeast of Hanauunau in the South Kona area of Hawaii Island. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the earthquake occurred at 9:46 p.m. This was last night. At 9:46 p.m., it was centered about 3.7 miles east-southeast of the Hanunapupu area along the western flank of Mauna Loa at a depth of 14 miles. Pacific Tsunami Warning Center said no tsunami was generated. Yeah, 6.0 is pretty good size, though. A second weaker 3.2 earthquake occurred 6 minutes later. So anyway, there it is on the Big Island. Anyway, yeah, that was kind of interesting. I hadn't heard that, though, until I was doing some news research today and came across it. Earthquakes in diverse places. All right, GeoWatch for this week. We have Geoengineering Watch Global Alert News, May 23rd, show 563. Record U.S. weather whiplash brings frost, heat, and crop threats. Get a little bit of everything. U.S. weather is split again. Where to expect snow, heat, hail, and floods. The latest data on El Nino is a looming nightmare. So we talked about the super El Nino earlier. The weather, chemical, biological warfare operations taking place in our skies are the most destructive form of power structure insanity. Summer 2026 will be beyond brutal. Latest installment of Global Alert News is right here. Yeah. Look at that sky. Somebody wearing the GeoWatch t-shirt. I think I've got one of those. I should wear that on the show. Anyway, yeah. So that is Geoengineering Watch Global Alert News for this week. And then he was talking about the split. We talk about that a lot on this show, don't we? Here's what he means. The split. There's the split. So we're back to the split. And really, I would say more often than not, that's what we have. Because they can't, for whatever reason, chemically ice nucleate enough of the United States all at one time to keep the entire thing cool, so they do half and half. Sometimes they'll do the West and let the East heat up, but usually they do the East and let the West heat up. And that's what we're seeing this time. This is May 30 to June 3rd. So coming up about 6 days from now, below normal, the entire eastern half of the United States and pretty much all the South, except for extreme southern, well, most of Florida, I guess. But yeah, May 30th through June 3rd. So get ready for the chemical cool down coming, which means, let's see. So this is the scheduled weather for May the 30th. So therefore, in the week leading up to it, you will see all kinds of crazy spraying if you live in the east. If you live anywhere in this blue area, pretty much. Our skies will be just jam-packed full of trails. Geoengineering trails. Guaranteed. Coming up, starting the few days leading up to May 30th. So what would that be? Let me see when May 30th is. May 30th is next Saturday, so probably somewhere around Wednesday or Thursday. I'm going to watch the skies in my area here. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I would think somewhere in there we're going to see a lot of heavy spraying. And they have to do that in order to get the cool down that they want. And, they're leaving out west to sort of heat up and probably stoke a few more literal fires out there, I'm guessing. So above normal in this patch here in Montana and North Dakota, but everywhere else is pretty warm, maybe slightly warmer than normal out west. So you can see that's what's coming, and then we will look at the climate reanalyzer as well. This page should take us to basically that same look right here on the right. Yes, kind of the same thing. We're going to be about 5 degrees below normal starting May 30th coming up. So that is the cool down. So the entire east and pretty much all the south as well. And Midwest, all cool. West stays hot. So, but they will flip it at some point. It'll go the other direction. But anyway, that is 7 to 10 days out. So starting May 30th. And then backing up, coming closer to today's date, we still have some heat. Well, especially in the north, but back east as well. This is dated May 27th. So cooler out west. 10 degrees below normal in like Reno area. Wow. So there will be a cool down. You guys might have quite a few trails in the sky right now. I don't know. Anyway, that's 4 to 6 days out. So May 27th. And then let's come a little closer to the current date. And this is dated Sunday, May 24th, which would be today. Only for 3 more minutes where I am. But yeah, that's where we are right now. So pretty much heat in the northern plains areas and out west somewhat. Cooler in this band down here and around Texas and southern states. So yeah, we're not particularly hot right now where I am. So that is right now. This is coming up. And then this is coming up closer to about a week from now. So that's what we're talking about on the old scheduled weather, which they always plan it all out, don't they? Anyways, let's see what else we got here. Here is the Subscribe Star page. I don't often mention it, but here it is. If you guys feel like contributing to the show, there are different ways to go about it. These different tiers on here are for monthly giving. I do have 5 supporters on Subscribe Star. I think I've got 6 on Substack as well, who do give a little bit each month. So thank you guys very much for doing that. And this is the Substack, and also a mechanism in there that allows you to contribute that way if you would so choose. And no pressure, but it is super helpful. Again, we're running new live stream software now, and everything's more expensive. Obviously, the cost for everything goes up all the time. So I try and absorb that as much as possible, but it sure is helpful when people want to step up and help, and I really, really do appreciate that very much, as someone did just earlier tonight. We're going to look at that again in just a second. And then we have the link tree, which is right above me there in that QR code. If you scan that with your phone, that will take you to this page, this purple one that we're looking at. And Buy Me a Coffee is the newest link on top here. And that is another really kind of, I guess you could do monthly, but it's really sort of a one-off way of donating to what I'm doing here. So we'll look at that in just a sec. But I shortened all the titles here on this Linktree page. I felt like they were too wordy. So I just put, like Parler, Getter, Brady on Social, MeWe, Gab, Minds. It's all associated with the Diamond Report. It's pretty self-explanatory. So anyway, that's a way to find all the links to the show. Pretty much all right there on the Linktree. Again, using the QR code will get you there. And, let's look at the... I don't have that page open anymore. Let's look at it. But I can pull it up real quick. This is the lovely new Buy Me a Coffee, which you guys see the link up above me there. It says support me at buymeacoffee.com/DiamondDisc. This is the new mechanism here. And yeah, if you happen to contribute while we are live and doing the broadcast, you'll hear a little dink as someone here who was an avid supporter found out just a little bit ago. And yeah, we heard it live. I'll have to confirm that noise actually came through, but I heard it. So hopefully you guys did too. But anyway, I'm going to try and keep this page updated with the brand new latest Diamond Report video. This is the one from last week. It's called The Last Days, featuring ticks and AI data centers. We didn't talk about ticks this week, but we did talk about AI data centers a lot. So I'll have to come up with the name and the thumbnail and stuff for this show tonight. We'll do that tomorrow. And we'll get this show posted on all of the other platforms and various and sundry other places. But anyway, let's take a look at the... let me put it back on this page. Let's take a look at the comments before we go tonight, and we can wrap it up here pretty quickly. So I hope you guys are enjoying the new live stream software. It seems to be running pretty stable. I did slightly resize the text comments in the chat over there, and I made it just a little bit. I made the text just slightly smaller so that it could fit everything people were saying, because I felt like some of it was getting cut off. So I think I've probably fixed that. And I did verify that anybody watching on kick.com, if you happen to comment, it does show up in my comments on here, and I can post them on the show. So we can do that. But for whatever reason, I don't know why, I've got it all set up right the way they told me to on Rumble, and the Rumble comments on chat still don't show up on my screen here. Let me just try a test again. Test from Rumble. And I don't know why it doesn't show up, but it doesn't. So I got to figure that one out. That is not anything I'm doing, though. That's some glitch on their system. But that's the only real problem that I've found. Cat's Hat wants to know, who is that music? I don't know what song you were talking about, but it was some music that is what we would call royalty-free music that I can use, that I have the rights to play. I actually pay a subscription. Again, if you're helping contribute to this show, some of the money each month goes to help me buy and pay for a subscription to be able to play music that's royalty-free, that doesn't get me in trouble. And I use that music at the beginning of the show. Usually the first 10 minutes or so of the live stream is just music, and then I show a few graphics and things rolling while that music is playing. So it was definitely some royalty-free type of music. I don't know who the artist was on that particular song, because I'm not sure which one you're talking about. But I could find out for you if you, if you wanted to let me know which song it was. And then what else we have here? I was helping Emily figure out her no sound issue. I guess the reboot worked. So yes, when in doubt, always reboot your machine, your device. 9 times out of 10, that will fix whatever problem you're having. Of course, sometimes it's something else, but that does work very often. So I'm glad that worked for you. Let's see here. 02 Hero says, yeah, Northern Ireland doesn't have freedom of speech. That's sad. They sure don't. Yeah, we talked about the pastor who has been fined for reading scripture near an abortion clinic, which was basically a hospital who did abortions. So yeah, very sad. Susan says, less than half of the seeds I've planted this year have germinated and producing plants. Too much rain in the Midwest, too cold. Too much rain, okay. We've had rain the last few days, but it's been really dry here up until that point. But yeah, I mean, I could see where you're saying it's been too cold. That's too much chemical ice nucleation, I guess. We're like bugs. We've been sprayed, poisoned, and now being wrapped in a web there doesn't seem to be any escape from. Yeah. Yep. Miss Betty says, Google says the U.S. currently has around 5,400 operational data centers with nearly 3,000 additional facilities actively under construction and planned across our country. Yeah, that's way too much. Way too much. But given what they're trying to build, it's not really that surprising, but they're going to put them everywhere. It says this massive expansion, driven largely by cloud computing and artificial intelligence, accounts for nearly half of all data center capacity globally. Yep. Susan says the Indy 500 was today. Yes, I did actually see the last probably, 50 or 60 laps of it. It was interesting. Never went to the Indy 500. I grew up in Indiana, never went to the Indy 500. But yeah, I did see that was today. A guy from, he was American sounding, but a guy from Sweden won, basically. I forget his name now. Seeing everyone boo those speeches does my heart well. Yeah, on the AI stuff, yeah, I noticed that too. That was good. Kids graduating right now are not being fooled, I think. Susan says, so this is surely the mark of the beast. I'm trying to figure out the best delay detour before being forced to die in lieu of taking it. I know. We can all see it, can't we? It's coming. It's being built out. Emily's wondering who is actually the person under that rubber mask. Strange times that we're in. I know. It's funny that the couple articles that I found about it assumed that the person wearing the mask was the guy that was doing the talking, but how could it be? I mean, why would it be? So that guy is either gone or not available or something, so somebody was pretending to be him. I don't know. Very strange. Emily says, talking about Michael Jackson, that was a classic Michael era. I knew you got to meet him, didn't realize the time frame so cool. Yeah, I did. The few times that I got to talk to him, one of them I'm a little bit embarrassed about, but I'll tell you what happened. And it was not really until I realized what happened. So when I worked there, Ocean Way was 3 buildings. I mostly worked in Hollywood. So we had 2 buildings on Sunset Boulevard, just one right down the street from the other. You could just walk out the door, walk down the street about a half a block or a block, and go into the other building. They're both on the same side of the street, so you didn't have to cross the crazy Sunset Boulevard traffic. So that was the main area where I worked most of the time. So that's 6050 Sunset and 6000 Sunset in those days. Okay, so the 6000 Sunset building was a super well-known building called United Recording, and then Ocean Way bought it and it became part of Ocean Way. And in the 6000 Sunset building, 6000 is the address. You can look it up. 6000 Sunset building is now called East West Recording, but it used to be part of Ocean Way. That is where Frank Sinatra recorded a lot of his stuff. That is where the Beach Boys recorded all their albums, pretty much, and just goes way back, right? Lots of history. That's pretty much where I worked for those probably 3 years. Now, I did work occasionally at the other studio called Record One in Sherman Oaks, and you can look that up if you want. Record One, Sherman Oaks. It's on Ventura Boulevard, and that was just right down the street a ways from where I lived. Okay, I lived in Studio City when I lived out there, which is right down the road. So Michael mostly worked in Sherman Oaks at Record One. That's where Dangerous was being recorded. And I started working there after I finished recording school in 1990. In January of 91, I started working at Ocean Way. And I was literally interviewed in the building where Michael was recording, although he wasn't recording at that very moment I was being interviewed. So that was weird. I found that out later, of course. And then the embarrassing thing, though, that I was going to tell you was that Record One had a really small staff. And I would go out there and work whenever they were short-staffed and they needed someone else. So that's when I met Michael. And because he was there a lot. So then Record One, after hours, the phones because people actually would pick up the phone and dial a phone number and talk to somebody on the other line. It was amazing. But that's how it used to work. No one had apps. But anyway, yeah, the phones would roll over after hours. So if somebody called the Record One phone number, they would get us in Hollywood. It would ring and roll over at Ocean Way in Hollywood. And we had hours that were extended. So I would go in at night at 6 p.m. and work until 5, 6 in the morning. I worked all night. So the phone would ring, and see, I was entry-level job. You're answering phones and cleaning the lounges and getting people's food, and you're hoping to work your way up to work in the recording studios. So I was doing a little bit of everything at that point. So Michael would call, he would be driving. He loved to drive himself. He would drive himself around in this like big old black Ford Explorer, right? And he would get on his car phone that he had in 1991, which was probably in a big old case, he would get on his phone and call Record One wanting to talk to some of the people on his team, like a producer or somebody. And he didn't know that they weren't there, so the phone would roll over to us in Hollywood, and I would answer the phone every now and then. And that happened several times. And because I kept talking to this person who sounded like a little kid. And I'm like, man, why does this little kid keep calling? And I was almost rude to him a couple times and said, no, the phone's just rolling over, and that person that you're looking for is not available right now. He's not here. I'm in Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. And so I didn't really hang up on him, but I was kind of like a little short with him a couple times, and he called back, and then I realized who it was. I realized it was Michael trying to get a hold of probably Matt Forger or somebody like that on his team. So that was my embarrassing moment. I had several other moments that were somewhat interesting. Just like seeing him come in all bandaged up from, various surgeries. Mostly, obviously, just the nose surgeries, the nose job surgeries. I think at one point I heard, I don't know if it's true, that his nose had kind of given out, kind of collapsed basically from having too many surgeries. So I don't know how much of it was reconstruction versus making it thinner and thinner. I have no idea. But I do know the little bit that I was around him, he was super nice and very, very friendly toward everybody. And Brooke Shields would call a lot. I never did see her, but she called him all the time, it seemed like. And he always had people, coming in and out. And except for little kids, there were never any little kids around. You know what he was accused of course. I never saw any of that. He was only ever around adults that I saw. And then a friend of mine worked at his Neverland Ranch when he was there, when he would go up there sometimes as well. And that guy also worked at the studio where I worked. So I had some experience with Michael and around him just a little bit, but I was mostly around his other team members, other people that were producers and engineers that were working for him, all of which were super great. And I'm still friends with some of those guys today. So anyway, that was my Michael story. I just thought I would mention all of that. I'm sure you guys are completely bored by now, but anyway, I just wanted to mention that because we were talking about the movie. Miss Betty says, good night, Doug and Diamond family folks. Much love, and may the week be amazing, kind, fruitful, and beautiful. Remember to stay hydrated, be well, be safe. That is very, very true. Thanks, Betty. Yes, say a prayer for Mr. Anthony Patch. He had a run-in with being dehydrated earlier in the week, actually, working too hard out in the heat. And he became dehydrated and had to go see the old doctor at the ER. But he's doing good now. He's actually fine. I've talked to him a few times. He's fine. We had to put off one live stream one night and move it to a different night. But yeah, he's doing good. Luckily, it wasn't anything more serious. Yeah, Emily says, what a cool experience. Thank you. Yeah, it was. It was a really good experience, and I'll never forget it. It was a good time of my life, and learned a lot, and eventually ended up giving up that job and moving to Nashville and seeing what I could do here, and ended up staying. So yeah, just kind of got stuck here, and I like it though. I like it here, and it's way more affordable and a lot more practical than trying to live in really anywhere in California, but especially in the Hollywood area. It's just ridiculous. So anyways, all that said, I guess we'll wrap it up for tonight. It's running late and we're running kind of long tonight. So the next broadcast will be on the last day of May, 31st, starting at 9 p.m. Central Time. So we will wrap it up and do it again then. And I'll try and get this show posted as soon as I can. Probably be late tomorrow at the earliest. But thank you guys again for contributing and supporting what this show is all about. Really appreciate it. And you guys know that. But yeah, I never get tired of telling you. And thank you guys again for being here, hanging out with me for the last, 3 hours. So yeah, we'll wrap it up for tonight and hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Feel free to reach out if you want to. Use the link tree there to get to the band group if you need to join the group. Would love to have you. We got 100 and some members in that group, totally free, and can go in there and share ideas or make it a prayer chain or whatever you want to do. The band group is always available. It's there as well, and feel free to leave comments on any of the videos that I post on any of the platforms, any of the social media places as well. So blessings, you guys. Love you guys, and hope you guys have a super wonderful week, and we will do it again next week. See you then.